Hello, everyone, and welcome to ReelTok episode 90, the Furiosa episode. You just see me and Seth right now, but Cam should be popping in here any second now. We don't have George this week, but we are all three of us going to absolutely glaze Furiosa, go through George Miller's entire filmography, talk about the Mad Max franchise in general. We also have some other news outside of Furiosa in terms of the Cannes Film Festival happened, in terms of the winners were announced. So we're going to go through those. Knives Out 3 was officially confirmed, so maybe we'll talk a little fan casting. There's a list of the top 10 new A-listers in Hollywood that was released. We can kind of go through those one by one and discuss, like, do we think they actually are an A-lister or not? And then there's other general movie news and trailers, of course, but Furiosa, George Miller, Mad Max, those are all going to be kind of the main themes of this episode. So we'll go ahead and get into this thing. The executive producers, of course, as always, for this episode, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, and Stefan Niebrick. Shout out to all of you for being the absolute kings that you are, helping us do this each and every week. As you all saw last week, massive content week. We had our A24 and I Saw the TV Glow episode Monday. We had a whole X-Men 97 episode on Tuesday. Wednesday was a Q&A from our patrons. Thursday was a draft. Friday for the patrons, they got a review of Mulholland Drive. So the content's coming, and it wouldn't be possible without our Patreon. So go check that out in the description down below. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. How have we been doing, Seth? You had a packed weekend, at least, like in terms of you were at Comic-Con, you saw Furiosa at the BFI London, you met up with a bunch of different people as well. So how's your week and weekend been going?
Yeah, good. Very tired. Just got back like 2 hours ago, or like an hour ago, whatever. Went to Comic-Con this week. Only spent like 3 or 4 hours there yesterday. Didn't go on Friday. I went to see Furiosa at the BFI, which was great, as we'll get on to. I kind of went for a drink. Like, there was loads of creators there, which was great, meeting new people. Comic-Con itself, don't really care. It's just too busy. It was really hot as well. I don't know. And then we went out for Josiah's birthday last night, which was really fun. That was a really good time. There was like 26 of us, I think. So there was like a bunch of us who went out, a bunch of different creators. That was great. Obviously met Anthony last night from ReelTok Lost Podcast because he was down in London, obviously seeing his girlfriend. That was really, really nice. We got really lucky, actually. So like Leicester Square in London is like the equivalent of like, not the equivalent of like Times Square in New York, not quite to the magnitude, I guess, but that's like the really touristy, section. That's where we were. And then we were like, it was also the FA Cup final yesterday, which is like, the biggest cup competition in the UK. And
shout out Manchester United pulling off the upset.
Yeah. And it was really, really busy. I wanted to go for a food or a drink because we met Anthony. We were like, we need to do something. And then he went on his phone. He was like, "Oh, do you want sushi, or whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah, great," because I love sushi. But I was like, we're not gonna be able to get a table. We even booked, and there was 9 of us at this point. And we go to this place, and they're like, "Yeah, we've got one for like an hour and a half or whatever." And they put like 9 of us on this booth down below. It was great, really, really good. Really like fucking like grade A sushi as well. It was so nice.
Your picture of that sushi was insane. That looked so good.
Yeah, it was like when they brought mine out, it was in like a boat, and then it was all like dried ice, so it was like smoky everywhere and stuff. Cool little gimmick. I like it. That was great. It was good. Obviously, me and Anthony in person. Really nice guy. Definitely a good time. And then obviously went out last night. And then train delayed today. Got back today. Back in London. Not next week. I guess the week after to see Spirited Away, the live show, which I'm looking forward to. But that's kind of about it. I'm just very, very tired. That's all.
Packed weekend, but sounds like a fun weekend. Cool. They got to meet Anthony as well.
See my Frankenstein's monster. I've got it next to me.
Oh, is that that's from Comic-Con? Nice.
Is that all you got, or did you get more?
Yeah, last year I said this before you joined. Last year was my first one, and I bought like a lot last year. And it's like I went this year, and I was like, I'm just seeing the same stuff, and I'm so bored, and I'm so hot, and it's so busy, and I'm so hungry, and I'm paying £20 a drink or whatever, I'm like, I don't know, it's not for me. But that was all I bought this time anyway.
Cam, popping in at a perfect time. How's your week and weekend been going? Were you like on a trip or something, or am I like making things up?
No, not this week. Can you guys hear, by the way, like my mom's vacuuming upstairs? Can you guys hear that? Or are we all right?
I think I might be able to like at 1%, but it's not like a big deal.
So we're fine. I'm gonna take that as we're all right. No, I don't think.
And she vacuumed over the router. L for Cam Walsh's mom. But I swear he said something about a boat trip, but maybe I'm already confusing last week.
I think it was.
Man, the Wi-Fi at Cam's house continues to be a saga, but we'll just
Is he
skip
there?
over him. He can figure that out. I don't know. We'll let him figure out his Wi-Fi situation and get back in here. But yeah, my week, I took the week off from work, but I don't know. It always feels like a double-edged sword whenever you take like a week off from work, because I feel like like I was like, I'm gonna take a week off to just like chill and relax, and then like the week goes by and I'm like, man, that week went so fast. So it's like, what was even the point of taking the week off? I feel like I just like wasted PTO and vacation and stuff. But I don't know, it was good. It was relaxed. It was chill. Didn't get as much done as I was hoping around the house and just other stuff. But been pretty consistent on TikTok, which I've been struggling with past couple weeks and months in terms of like being consistent. So at least I got to do that. But tomorrow's, well, because we're recording this on Sunday, so tomorrow in America, I think you said in the UK as well, as tomorrow like a holiday, like people don't have work and stuff off tomorrow.
Yeah, it's called a bank holiday here. We've got one here, so I'm not working tomorrow.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, same here. So probably gonna use that to be another bonus day of the weekend. But sports have been great. I mentioned every week Dallas is just crushing it in the postseason right now. They're 2-0 in the NBA Western Conference Finals. They're 1-1 in the NHL Western Conference Finals. So both of them trying to push to get to the final. But yeah, little Formula One this morning, Monaco Grand Prix. So been a fun sports weekend, and yeah, excited to just keep watching it going into the week. So Cam, we'll give you another chance. You cut out like immediately when you started talking last time.
Yeah, we'll try this again. Can't believe you didn't even mention the biggest sporting event ever, the Indy 500 today. And of course, being in Indy, it's probably the only place that it matters. But Indy 500s today. I'm not a big race person, but if you're from the Indianapolis area and you go to the race, let me know how it is. It's supposed to downpour today too, so just more reason to not go. But yeah, that's the big thing happening.
Stupid question. Right, is that NASCAR or is that like?
No, it's an IndyCar.
Okay.
You know, Indy 500, IndyCar.
I don't know. Indianapolis could be the Indy. I don't know.
But yeah, so it's in IndyCar. It's the only race I'll watch. I'm not a Grand Prix, not a NASCAR guy, not an IndyCar guy. It's the only race I'll watch. So, and it's the best because in Indiana, it's blacked out because like they want you to go, obviously, which is awesome. I love when sporting events do that. That's super fun.
That.
Yeah, right. So we have to like pirate it every year and then stream it to the TV. And it's as if they don't like our streamers stupid. I can pirate anything. I can find anything online. You might as well make me pay for it through like YouTube TV or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I
think they're just banking on people older than you not doing that.
Yeah, that's very fair. And that's very true because like I have to be the one that pirates it for my family, you know. But yeah, Memorial Day tomorrow. So nice day off work. Always good. But the big thing right now, and you guys know I was late because I was getting a brand new iPhone, which is awesome.
You said you were getting an Android to us when you texted us.
No. You're putting words in my mouth. It's awful. But yeah,
what happened to your old phone again? You dropped it or what?
No, so it's been a long time coming kind of thing of needing a new phone.
I'm assuming he was gonna say it's been a long time coming of needing a new phone. So he got a new phone. Maybe.
Am I back? Sorry.
You're back.
Yeah, sorry. It's a long time coming of like needing an iPhone, right? They start cutting out after like 2-3 years. So the battery was starting to go. I've had a cracked screen, obviously. So needing a new one. But then yesterday I got in the pool. I didn't even like jump in the pool with it in my pocket. Like I got in the pool to play with Bailey, and it was like 5 minutes later I noticed it was in my pocket. And iPhones now are like water resistant. But I woke up this morning. Yeah, I woke up this morning and my phone was at like 20%. I'm like, that's really weird. So, and it was plugged in all night. And so I tried a different charger and then tried a different charger, and none of them were working. And I'm like, this is great. And my Face ID stopped working because the camera's fucked. And so, yeah, it is obviously the nail in the coffin, needing a new phone. I got one of those MagSafe chargers and that was working. So that's how I kept my phone alive for the morning. Which was good, but yeah, just got back from the Verizon store, and it's always, you know, going to the Verizon store or AT&T or Apple store, wherever you may go, like always sucks. But then when you walk out with that new phone, you're like, cool. A new
Why
toy.
do you go in? Why do you go in for it?
As
Wait.
opposed to what?
Yeah, do you do it like
Or do-
online?
Yeah, I always do it online. Always.
I mean, like if you go in, you get the phone right then and there.
Yeah, it was an emergency situation for him.
Yeah, like got the phones right now. Yeah. But I gotta
Yeah,
like do the
yeah.
transfer and everything, you know, and that's that. Apparently, it's like $30 to transfer your phone to other phone, like if they do it, but it's a super simple process. So
Yeah, it is.
I definitely did not pay that. I just have to like return it within the however many days.
Mhm.
So yeah, if I get distracted, I'm playing around on my new phone, but I'm,
Mhm.
you know, it's a fun like new toy, right?
Yeah, going in because when the new iPhones came out, I don't know, like 10-ish months ago, I went in person to get to the
I
Apple
wanted
store,
to
like,
hold
pick
out
it
for
up.
the new one that will come
Right.
out
That's
That's
what
inevitably.
I'm
always the
doing.
worst. That's
I
like
need
always
it.
the
I'm just gonna.
yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like every time I try that, it ends up breaking like just before too early, and I'm like, "Fuck!" I was trying to hold out,
Yeah.
yeah.
but yeah, I got the brand new one like last time they came out, and I remember going to the Apple store to like pick it up on the launch day or whatever, and they like finally call my name because like it's a super long process on release day where it's like a long line and they like go by like a queue, and finally they come in. They're like, "Oh, do you want to like to help you like transfer all this or like set up iCloud?" I'm like, "Nope, nope," and I just kept saying no to everything. Like, really? Like you're in and out of here pretty fast. I'm like, that's the goal of this
Yeah.
transaction here. I'm trying to get in and out of here.
The store didn't open till 10, and my family is like, "You are not going to be out of there in an hour." Because
I
right
was
now we're
that's what I
recording
thought you were gonna
11
miss the
local
pod.
time.
I was like, dude, Cam's going to get a new phone.
No,
before the
I was
pod's
there.
being-
Yeah, I was there
yeah.
at 9:55. I was the second person there. There was one other person, but they had enough people. I was in and out, and honestly, the longest time. So I went from AT&T. I'm doing big boy things. I got off my parents' account. And
Ooh.
got my own. Yeah, so now I have to pay a phone payment, which sucks. But I went from AT&T to Verizon, and the longest time waiting was my parents set up an account with AT&T probably 8-10 years ago at this point, whenever they did, and they had to remember their PIN from all the way back then, and so they had to call AT&T and stuff, and that was the longest thing it took. But it was really easy. Yeah, got here. I obviously was a couple minutes late, but not as bad as kind of thought. So excited about that.
Yeah, well, now your new phone goofing. New phones
Yeah.
to me are always the most disappointing thing because I remember like
They're always the same.
Yeah, the one before the one like the newest iPhone was like 4 years old, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna upgrade this, and it's gonna like my TikTok's gonna look more HD, upload time to be faster, my phone's not gonna get super hot when I upload, and then like you get the brand new phone, the latest and greatest. I'm like, oh, so it's the exact same thing. My phone's still a million degrees when I upload, it's still same speed.
Yeah, my phone is like basically breaking every time I upload or try to record a TikTok. So I was hoping that would solve it, but
yeah,
maybe not. It doesn't sound like it does.
Uploading TikTok in general just like makes your phone melt. But like when I used to work in the office, I would always do it from my car in Phoenix, where it'd be like 110 degrees. So my phone would like actually like I felt like it was gonna melt through my fingers. But
yeah,
hopefully one of these days it's optimized better. But yeah, let's get into what we've been watching. So outside of like Mad Max and Furiosa, what have you been watching this week, Seth? I know it's been a busy week, but you've been ticking off some stuff I saw.
Very, very minimal. Like I said to you boys, I'm in my gaming era, so I've been doing a bunch of that. What did I watch? Oh, I watched Mulholland Drive again because we did the review, or I did you'll see. And then I wanted to watch it, so I watched it. Great. I watched Bad Boys 2, Michael Bay's Bad Boys 2. I really, really like the first two Bad Boys. I think they're great. Haven't seen the third one. Probably not going to see the fourth one. Don't care about it. I watched Chime, which is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, the one who did like Cure and Pulse, his new feature. I think it's like 45 minutes. That was really, really good. Watched obviously the Mad Max movies, and then watched Furiosa, which obviously we'll go into. Very, very minimal watches for me this week, just because I've been manic.
Has it been all Elden Ring, or is it other games too?
Yeah, it's been mainly Elden Ring, of course, because time difference. Like I said this, obviously you guys are in the group chat, but on Thursday, I'm like, I played with like Owen and Kevin on 2K at like 11 p.m. my time, right, to 12 p.m. my time on Wednesday, and then I wake up on Thursday at like 7:30 normal time or 7:30, and then Owen and Kevin are still on. I'm like,
yeah, crazy.
No, it gets weirder because then I'm like, you know what? I'm because I didn't have any meetings that day. So, I've just woken up. I've had a 4 hours, like 8 hours sleep, whatever, 7 hours sleep. So I was like, oh, come on. And then Josiah came on, and then Kevin was like just dead. So he went off. Owen ended up staying on until like 6:30 Eastern time.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing. And then I think he woke up like 5 the next day.
That's like the most unemployed. Obviously, he's still in college.
That is the most unemployed.
That's the most unemployed shit
really
ever.
Is. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy because my time zone's like 3 hours behind them. So and I remember I don't know what day it was because I was off this week. I was up at like 1 a.m. or something gaming. So like 4 a.m. their time. And they're like, you want to hop on 2K? I'm like, dude, do you guys ever sleep or do you only play 2K?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is coming from me, like a man who does it every week. But like, it's a school day, Like, let's calm down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2K. It's not going great. I'm there. I'm improving.
I suck.
I can drive to the hoop. I can pass the rock. But when it comes to shooting, it's so hard. Like I'm struggling to get that green number,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mostly Elden Ring, just smashing that through. There's like I'm shooting you guys haven't seen it. There's like a DLC, like a massive DLC coming.
Pictures on like your
in June. Yeah. I think I tweeted it. Yeah. Like huge DLC, the biggest I've ever done. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah, not much this week. Not much.
Yeah. We're kind of in our gaming era in this household too. We just got a PS5 like a week ago. So obviously been playing 2K with the boys. For me personally, I haven't really been playing much outside of. I'm a big like sports game guy.
Yeah,
that's just not a game I would really.
Is it on PS5 or is it? Obviously, you play on PS5. That was a dumb question, but I always thought it was just like a computer game.
No, it's probably. I think the majority of people play Elden Ring on console. I think it's actually probably a lot easier on controller. Funny enough, I think anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, Riley likes more like adventure type games. So one of the days I walked out of like recording a Trivia 10 or something, and she was playing Goat Simulator, which is like, I don't know if you ever heard of this game. Goat Simulator 3. It's literally like Grand Theft Auto 5, but you're a goat. And she's like, I just walk out and see this goat, like she's running around like stealing vehicles, like killing people with like a gun. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, and last night I came out of a Trivia 10. She fired up Fallout 4 and she's grinding Fallout 4 for like 8 hours. She was deep into Fallout 4, which that's the only downside about PS5 is like Fallout's like not going to be a thing anymore on PS5 because it's like Xbox exclusive going forward.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because they like merged or something. On Xbox, if you have like the Xbox Game Pass, you can have like every Fallout ever. Whereas PS4, I think only Fallout 70 or PS5, Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 are like the only ones you'll be able to get access to.
You seen the other games? You can play Spider-Man and The Last of Us on PlayStation.
We do have Spider-Man too, and because it was like the weird thing where like a brand new PS5 console is like $500, and like it was like $440 for like the PS5 console with a copy of Spider-Man 2. So it's like whatever. I guess we're getting Spider-Man 2. But yeah, so PS5 has been in action. The only reason I bought it personally is for college football, 2K25 when that comes out but that's like late July. So we still got a ways to go to get there. But Cam, what have you been watching this week?
I had a good week. I had a good week of watches. So I watched I've been watching through the X-Men. X-Men 97 kind of rejuvenated my love for the X-Men, but none of the movies are up to par of X-Men 97 other than, I would say, Days of Future Past. We have a nice clip up of Alex Hat Guy saying not that, which is crazy. So I watched, I think I actually mentioned it last week. I watched the first 3 last week, and then this week I did X-Men Origins Wolverine, stinks. The Wolverine, okay. X-Men Days of Future Past, great. X-Men First Class, good, definitely very good. I remember liking it a lot more. So those are all kind of rewatches. One thing that I logged this week was Cooking with Love. So we went to the ER this week, just had a small health scare, but everything ended up being good and all okay. But in the ER waiting room, Cooking with Love was on the TV, no volume, no subtitles. But I think
how do you give a rating to that?
I think I got plenty out of it. I think I got just enough out of it. Maybe it did have subtitles, actually. I can't remember, but I think I got plenty. And I watched like 80% of it in the ER waiting room. And the only reason I could find what it was is it had this actor from the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who apparently he was like the main guy in the first seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And apparently he does a lot of like Hallmark rom-coms or whatever they may be. Yeah. So I logged Cooking with Love because I thought, who cares?
Well, I'm glad everything's okay with the health scare though.
Yeah, all good. Just small worry. Watched.
I almost did that same thing like this week with logging though, because on NBA games are on TNT, and I was waiting for a playoff game, and before it started, so I like turned it on. Then I went to meal prep for like an hour and a half. I was just like cooking a bunch of shit for the week, and Captain Marvel was on, so I just like had the volume like low, and I probably looked at the TV for 2 minutes out of the entire like hour and a half I was cooking. But I was like low key.
I had like really bad service, so I was actually like watching because I just couldn't be on my phone really.
Right.
Yeah, so I was checking that out. And then
was
the
it
Mad
good?
Maxes.
You didn't say it was
no,
good.
it was bad. It was a bad movie.
Okay.
It's very corny. Like it was one guy. The girl is a TV broadcaster or something, and the guy is like a rich chef, and then they fall in love, something like that. Again, I didn't get much, but I think I got plenty from it. It was not very good. Watched Breaking Dawn Part 1 with Emma this week, where she loves that movie and hit me with you want to watch the best movie ever. So she turned that on. I was not that. Watched Dune Part 2 twice because it came to Max. I fucking love that movie. It's so goddamn good. And then I think that's about it. The Mad Maxes, which we'll talk. Furiosa is very good. So yeah.
Wow,
good
spoilers.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, let's see. For me
Hot
this
take,
week,
Furiosa, good movie. Hot take.
Well, apparently,
to some people, that is a hot take. So, I watched After Sun for the third or fourth time to start off the week. Just so damn good, man. Every time I watch it, it gets better. It's one of those that, like, every time I watch it, I'm like, maybe it's like not gonna hold up this time, and it holds up this time every time. Watch Everybody Wants Some, the new Dickie Linklater, not new, 2016. So I think it's his newest compared to Hitman.
Is it his newest?
I don't think he's had one between that and Hitman. If I'm
really, wow,
which seems crazy because it's a long gap, but
yes, really long. It's 8 years. Wow.
But I won't be here on the pod next week, but I'm assuming with Hitman releasing, you guys would probably do like a Richard Linklater type special and do some Hitman talk. So that should be fun. I'm excited to listen to that and hear you guys talk.
It's weird, isn't it? Because like, have you got it in theaters near you?
Like super limited, way like even more limited than like like A24 releases limited.
Really?
It's like only like the major markets of Hitman. I can't see Hitman anywhere.
Weirdly enough, for me, the only place they're showing it is like my independent one where I see all the older stuff, the one that I usually go. They've got like 3 screenings a day for the next like 2 weeks of Hitman. Like they're just pumping out. I don't know why. Weird. So I'm gonna try and see that probably Tuesday. I think because that's getting like really good reviews so far. Anyway.
I mean, it's like Georgia. I think still like Georgia's like favorite of the year behind probably like Dune Furiosa now, but
I think my dude just has one actually.
Yeah. So next week, look forward to a Richard Linklater special and a Hitman review. But then watch all the Mad Max, of course. I watched Turtles all the way down. When I was in like high school and middle school, I was a huge John Green fan. Like a lot of people were in their teenage years of his books. So I've seen my favorite book like ever growing up was Looking for Alaska. I read that like a billion times. That was converted into Hulu limited series like 3 years ago. It was okay. The Fault in Our Stars obviously is like the biggest smash hit in terms of like the movies of his books. And then Paper Towns was a pretty mid movie. That was one of his books. Then Turtles All the Way Down was his most recent book, which it was not as good as The Fault in Our Stars, but better than Paper Towns. So somewhere in the middle. It was like a 3-star. It was fine. Watched The Princess Bride for the very first time. Kind of crazy. I'd never seen that before. What's up?
Talking John Green?
Yes.
Right, that's big Indiana guy. That dude loves Indiana, so shout out him.
Every book, I'm trying to think, no, I don't think Paper Towns is Indiana or Looking for Alaska, but Fault in Our Stars definitely is. Paper Town or Turtles All the Way Down definitely is, and he's obviously a huge Indiana dude.
I have never seen any of his movies or read any of the books, but shout out him because I see his TikToks a lot, and he's like, "Hey, here's why you should move to Indianapolis," and I'm like, "Yeah."
He's a big Indianapolis guy. Yeah, Turtles All the Way Down, they're like exploring in the city, and then. And like The Fault in Our Stars is a whole like mini scene where like Gus is wearing like a classic Pacers jersey and like her dad and him like chat just like Pacers legends for a quick 30 seconds aside. I'm like, it's probably like a just Cam would point to the screen and be like, hell yeah. Yeah. But and then Princess Bride for the very first time. Such a good movie. I had such a delightful time with that. I can't believe that was the first time I've ever seen it. It's one of those where so many people are in love with it, and it's usually like some nostalgia. So it's like I was worried it'd be one of those things where like the first time I'm seeing it is as an adult, maybe I won't connect with it or like it as much because I don't have that connection to childhood watch of it. Not the case. Great movie, very fun. And then I watched Happy Feet 1 and 2 to do some more George Miller watching. So that kind of leads us up into talking about Furiosa, the big review of the week, the big movie release of the week. Even though it doesn't seem like it's as big of a cultural event widespread wise as Dune in terms of like the box office numbers or like the general audience appeal of it. But to us, Furiosa is a huge deal. We were all very excited for it, anticipating it in a major way. It is finally here. The synopsis of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. As the world fell, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers and falls into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dementis. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the citadel presided over by Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants war for dominance, Furiosa must survive many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. Obviously based on the trailers and promotion starring Anya Taylor-Joy, but based on the movie, might not be so obvious because she doesn't really show up for a while because it's, it kind of goes through decades of this movie's a decade spanning saga, but very much stars Chris Hemsworth, which we all praise his performance. But then beyond that, you have a lot of familiar faces, with a lot more familiar faces than I was expecting from the original Mad Max in terms of like, it's just cool because it's been 8 years. I was like, oh, it's cool that all these actors are, still around, still down to clown with George Miller and, like Immortan Joe and all of his.
I love how he has like an Australian
guys.
pack and he tries to keep it really like personal. I think it's a really good thing.
Because he obviously got Quaden Bayless as like the guy that everyone commented on the picture of him, but then he also got like Sean Miller, the name of that guy. And he was in way more than I thought he would be because I saw him post a TikTok. He's like, I'm in my first movie ever. I was like, oh, he's gonna have a comment. I was like, man, he was like the guy.
He had like lines, like before we go into it, he's a guy who became really famous in the UK because he looked like a player for Man United when he was doing like, because he's a singer on TikTok. I think he has a few followers. I think he has like over 1 million, whatever. And I saw he came off my For You page and he was like, going to be in, thanks to George Miller, got started with Furiosa with Chris Hemsworth and Taylor-Joy. I was like, what? And I thought, okay, he probably is just in, like a section. Like he has like lines, and he's present from that point until like a good portion of the film as well. That was really, really cool. Like I like how George Miller, and again we'll go on to this in a second, but has this trust and these faith in keeping things personal, keeping it close, like bringing in kind of really inexperienced Australian actors. Even acts is a push for strong, because if you look at the filmographies of most of the guys in the film, they're very, very small, other than appearing in a lot of Miller's work. I really, really like that about him. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, because beyond that, Charlie Fraser, obviously playing like Furiosa's mom. This is her second film ever too. So just really like very inexperienced cast members which beyond, also another crazy thing is like you hear all these stories about George Miller's like productions and how intense and grueling they are. So the fact that he gets so many like inexperienced actors, like damn, maybe that's why they stay inexperienced, maybe because they're like, if this is what acting is, I don't know if I can live on a set like this anymore. But yeah, let's get into it. We'll start very high level with our reviews and general thoughts before we kind of dive into the spoiler section and talk more about the plot points. So keep it very high level, Cameron. But we'll start with Seth. What's your overall thoughts and review of Furiosa?
True. I was very excited for Furiosa going in, and I loved it. I think it's a fantastic film. It's very different than I was expecting. I think going in, I expected kind of a different film, which is complementary more than anything. Like Tyler said, it's very much, and again, I don't think this is spoilery because I think everyone's already said this anyway. It's like Anya Taylor-Joy is not in it for like 50 minutes, an hour, something like that. And by the way, the girl who plays young Furiosa, Ayla, I don't know.
Alila Brown.
Alila Brown, yeah. Great, really, really good. And I know now, I said in my review that she looked strikingly similar. I know now that they actually used some CG to actually make her have some similar features to Anya Taylor-Joy, which is really, really cool. I think this is a fantastic film. I said in my review, this is just like an odyssey into the wastelands, similar to what we've seen with the Mad Max films before. The gritty unknown, the brutality, just with a bunch of weird and wacky characters, and it really does lean into a lot of the comedy with this one as well, which I think is very much anchored by Chris Hemsworth's kind of, violent and scary, but also, sarcastic and overly ridiculous, kind of his like caricature villain, which I really, really enjoyed. I said it before. I think Chris Hemsworth, like this is like a perfect role for him. Like really, really, I think he was fantastic. I think he were because not only did he have the presence needed to pull off such a striking presence and the physique to do it as well, but also he was actually really funny as well, which is hard to do. And I think that sort of performance can come off as too much, if not done like right. So there's a balance you have to work in. Yeah, and it's like half action melodrama. You've got all the huge set pieces, the big moments, and maybe less so than Fury Road. But then you've also got kind of this coming of age tale about Furiosa living in oppression, obviously trying to get this vengeance, trying to achieve the vengeance, which is a common thing we've seen in George Miller's film, especially in the Mad Max saga. Yeah, full of jaw-dropping moments, many hits, great score as well, which I loved. I'm assuming we'll get onto the special effects and the discourse going around that. Didn't bother me, and that's not me to say that everything is amazing, but I do think it leans heavily more into the stylistic approach. And I will say as well, not maybe because some of the bits weren't noticeable, but if you look back and look at Fury Road, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the visual effects as well that would point towards the argument that it's a George Miller extravaganza choice. It's very bombastic. It's very in your face. It's these kind of vast, endless landscapes, kind of really heightening the isolation of Anya Taylor-Joy's character Furiosa. I think Sydney tweeted this as well. One thing that really impressed me is how much Anya Taylor-Joy just was so similar to Charlize Theron's Furiosa. Like they were literally, especially in the back end when she starts speaking a little bit more. And then has to change the voice. It's quite funny as well because all the discourse is going around that she had like 20 lines of dialogue. When because that's like a point of the film. That's like literally a narrative plot point. And she literally she was so good, and it was a perfect choice. I loved it. I give it a 4.5. It's in my top 3 of the year. I think just behind third of the year, just behind Challenges and Dune. Fantastic film.
Mm-hmm. And Tom Hardy had like 30 lines of dialogue in Fury Road. So like, I don't get why this is becoming such a big deal now with Anya Taylor-Joy. Like,
the point of like Mad Max, like especially when it comes to, that's Furiosa's living their character. The whole point of Mad Max, which we'll go on to when we speak about them, is that he's like kind of like a mystical figure, and you don't know anything about him. And that's kind of the point of it. And I feel like the Mad Max films and now the Furious films as well, it's never really relied on that. It's relied on its artistry. It's relied on its just huge set pieces and more just the brutality. And the main characters aren't the essence of dialogue and stuff like that. It comes from more, the weird characters you meet along the way with just the stupidest names ever, which I fucking love, by the way. Like, I know this is in the first one, but like Rectus and Erectus and Scrotus, that is just fucking mental. Like it's crazy, but it's just so good. I love it. It's just George Miller in like his fucking playground, just having a whale of a time. That's what I love about it so much. Just like this 80-year-old guy just having the best time of his life directing a film,
Cam, what are your thoughts on Furiosa?
Yeah, pretty similar thoughts. Like I really, really enjoyed this thing. I want to rewatch it again. And it's crazy that Mad Max came out in 2015. I feel like that is like a 2020 movie, just like based on my memory of it. But it's wild that it's that long ago. But yeah, I really love Furiosa. Anya Taylor-Joy is fantastic. And I think I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention to reviews or didn't listen to any, because I didn't see it till yesterday. So a little late in like movie talk standards. But I was shocked she was not in the movie for the first hour, or the first 2 parts of the movie, because this has multiple parts, which it was really crazy. And yet when she immediately comes in, just steals every scene. I think Chris Hemsworth did an amazing job, and I don't think it's a insane ask that he's like rewarded for this with either a nomination of some sort, because I think he's fantastic in this, a career best, as most are calling it. Like I've seen that plenty. That's not an original take, but I definitely think this is his best performance. And I like him a lot, obviously being an MCU fan, but it's nice seeing him be this wacky, like crazy villain, while also delivering an incredible performance, because he's very, like the way the Thor character is gone, he's gotten very wacky and just jokey and stuff. And it's not great normally. But yeah, outside of that, like the action set pieces are insane. Like flying cars in this and things like that are just crazy. Hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler. It literally looks like a Mario Kart race where they have the wind sails on back and they fly around. But I really did love this thing. A 92 out of 100 for myself, 4.5 out of 5. Not the same feeling as Dune coming out of it, but it's definitely like a big master epic that needs to be seen on the big screen. I really enjoyed it. I don't know what else to say, like outside of spoilers. I think you hit the nail on the head, Seth, saying like she does a very good job, or I think you said that. Sydney said this. She does do a very good job at like not impersonating Charlize Theron, but like matching that same performance really well. So I think she was the perfect casting for it. And I'm also glad like they cast Anya Taylor-Joy rather than like Charlize Theron is not that old. You could have very easily cast her and tried to do it like maybe with a little CGI of making her younger. I don't think that would have worked as well. So I really appreciate just the recast and getting a fantastic actress in there. And then, yeah, I like how much it ties in with Mad Max Fury Road, because obviously it's a prequel, but a lot of times when you get into the prequel territory, you just like add things in that weren't like talked about at all in the sequel, just because you're like, oh, this would be cool. And you tell like these stories, but this is obviously like you can watch this as a 1-2 punch with Fury Road, and it's probably fantastic. I kind of want to do that whenever it comes out on streaming and stuff, and you just watch them back to back. But really great movie, really awesome watch, tons of fun at the theater. Like definitely go see this on the big screen. I'm shocked it's not doing as well as like obviously not as well as Dune, because I don't ever think it was going to, but I'm shocked it's not doing as well as other blockbusters, just kind of with the revisionist history of Mad Max, because Mad Max flopped pretty hard. Fury Road, that is, flopped pretty hard in 2015, I believe, but like it's one of those movies like a Blade Runner 2047 or
is that a new one?
2049.
My bad. Got the dates wrong. And I'm trying to think of a different one that like flopped at the time, but now is beloved. Oh, like a Nice Guys flopped. Like it's kind of in those same veins where I feel like it's talked a lot about online now. So I'm shocked it's not doing as well, but it's going to make its money back and make a profit. So that's good. But very, very good movie. Big fan.
Yeah, I give it 4.5 stars. I had a great time with Furiosa. Very differently, like I said, than Fury Road. This is much more of a revenge epic. It's told in a very different way in terms of it's a 5-part structure, which was a little bit, it's always not my favorite thing. Seeing like the part 1, not always my favorite thing, but it's not enough to like make me like dislike a movie. It's just one of those things I'm like, whatever. But sold to 5. There's 5 parts, right? That's how many.
It's 5.
So 5-part structure, visuals out of this world. I'm not an idiot. I think there's probably like a lot of stuff. Like I said on Twitter, I think is just stylistically what George Miller is going for. But I'm not an idiot. I can point at the screen. I know exactly probably the 70 times where someone probably like is saying like, oh, that's bad CG. Like if I went with a paper and a tally mark, I could probably tally every moment that people are complaining about. But kind of like I mentioned, I think like 99% of those are just stylistic choices. There's definitely some moments like very early on, someone like jumps on a horse. And there's a couple backgrounds that like specifically are super egregiously bad where I'm like, that's just like beyond the point of stylistic choice. That's just like straight up like bad looking. But I think like so many people are saying there's so many moments that look so ugly and bad in this where I'm like that's just all, just George Miller. Like Fury Road has so many of those moments. I think Cam mentioned like revisionist in terms of Fury Road becoming a hit after it releasing. I think it's also revisionist in terms of people just haven't revisited it because I mean, it's a 5-star for me. I love that film. Maybe my favorite action film ever. So I'm not trying to knock it, but I'm talking about in terms of the style. Like a lot of what you saw in here that people are saying like looks wonky, looks the same in Fury Road. And beyond that, a lot of people were I saw some people saying that Furiosa is too silly compared to Fury Road being serious. I'm like, dude, Fury Road has a dude with a guitar spraying fire from Bungie. Like, where are you guys revisionizing that Fury Road? That's kind of awesome, though.
Listen to any of the names, the guitar scene, the whole like anything with Immortan Joe. It's silly. Like that's the point. It's weird. Like the whole what are they called? Like his like army. What are the guys? What are they called? Yeah,
War Boys.
the War Boys, the whole like concept of it is just
spraying
kind of
chrome in their mouth, and
yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
you watch any moment of Nicholas Holt's character in Fury Road, it's crazy, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
That's not
they're both like equal. Like, I mean, hot take. I feel like if this was about a prequel of Tom Hardy's Mad Max and it's a boy leading this, people probably wouldn't be as up in arms. Just saying what people aren't trying to say. Feel like that's playing like sexism. I think is playing into a lot of why people are just like hating Furiosa so hard, because so many of the criticisms I see are like, you could replace, like, you do a search and replace Furiosa for Fury Road and just type that in, and it would sound like the same exact criticism. It would be like, this is too silly. They're adding comedy in, like ridiculous moments, unbelievable
Have people not
moments.
watched a George Miller film before? Like it astounds me how people can say this is too silly. I don't understand that. It's weird. I mean, admittedly, like Chris Hemsworth's character adds a lot of that, and that's probably what people are getting. But like, I mean, again, opinions, whatever. I don't know how you can't think that worked. I think that added so much in his favor of the film, and that was a perfect choice, you know?
Yeah, like everyone's been saying, Chris Hemsworth, career best performance. It's like, you know, Thor, like Cam was saying, is getting too far in the silly realm. I feel like this is like his Thor character balanced out by his character of Bad Times at the El Royale. And just like
it's not like medium. Funny shit, is it's like it's not like okay, here's an example. It's not like a Jason Momoa in Fast X, you know, where it's like silly and it's quite fun to watch. But let's be honest, not amazing. I think that
we kind of love Jason Momoa and Fast X, though. This is a
we do.
Jason
He's
Momoa Fast
pro
X
Jason Momoa Fast X, but he's like a B-tech Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa. Like, it's not as if it was just this kind of, it was, you know, just a balancing act. It was, you know, whatever. It was there, funny, decent moments. This is a really fucking good performance, especially in that final, which we'll go into, that final scene with Anya Taylor-Joy. It's a really good performance. Like, he has this velocity, but he also manages to balance it with just being an idiot, which is great because he's good at doing that, as we've seen with Thor. But this works perfectly. So yeah, I think he was really, really great.
Yep, career best work from him. And then Anya Taylor-Joy is great. Great performance. It's not like best performance of my life I've ever seen or anything. I think I came away more impressed by Chris Hemsworth, but that's just naturally what you'd expect with like how much more. I mean, Chris Hemsworth's in all 5 parts, whereas Anya Taylor-Joy, like we mentioned, comes in the 3rd part, and obviously she has less dialogue. Physically, she acted brilliantly, but it's just like a logical thing. You watch this movie, and you'll get more Chris Hemsworth performance-wise out of it than from Anya Taylor-Joy, but not to say she wasn't great as well. Like Seth mentioned, Alila Brown, incredible as the young Furiosa, but really every casting in this just kind of knocked it out of the park. Everything here was just done exquisitely. George Miller Tom Burke was great in this movie as well. Like, I'm just like really everyone is so great in this, and George Miller and his little cast of Australians just absolutely cooked here. But cinematography is great. The action filmmaking, there were so many scenes that were just quite literally blowing my mind. And we'll get into specifics on which ones, but I don't have filmmaker brain. Like, any movie I watch, I'm like, I couldn't make a film like this at all. But this is like, even trying to think of making a film like Furiosa or Fury Road, like, stresses me out to think of like how you would have to coordinate a production like this with this crazy action sequences. I'm like, I don't know how the hell. I mean, this has to just take years off the lives of people that are on this production, just simply because of how intense and stressful this production has to be to make this all come together. But final product was great. 4.5 for me. It'll be really interesting when I rewatch it. I know, like, George is going to see it like 4 times this week. Reservoir Dogs is going to see it like he's already seen it like 5 times
in a day. But
if Doug doesn't keep up the pace, though, like, I think George will already be passing him, because George is like freaking 5 tickets.
Doug will have finished this podcast, and Doug will have looked it twice more. Like, that's the point he's at right now. It's ridiculous.
Well, it'll be him and George are going to be the new like Dune guy in terms of trying to see who can see it more. But I'm going to be interested to see where I fall on it watching a second time. I think now, knowing the structure going into it, I can see myself liking it more. But like, it'll never get lower than a 4. But I don't know. Part of me could low key see it like go down to a 4 maybe on rewatch. I don't know. But it's between a 4 and a 5 right now. It's a 4.5 for me. Came out of it similar to what Cam was saying, where I was like, that was a really good freaking movie, but I wasn't like buzzing the same way. Like, I was buzzing about the action, but in terms of the overall like movie. And there's some specific parts, especially with the ending, that kind of left me questioning where I fall in the movie. But 4.5 is what I'm going to give it. And at this point, we'll put the spoiler mark down, and we're going into spoilers. So now we can talk more liberally about the film without having to worry about anything. So if you haven't seen Furiosa, this is your sign. Jump ahead to when we're talking about more Mad Max stuff, non-Furiosa. But let's get into spoilers a bit. So Let's see. Well, first off, I think the craziest scene to me in this movie was the one where they had the freaking paramotors on their back.
Yeah.
That's when Quaid and Bayless is like in the lettuce little
awesome.
shack.
So
that
awesome.
scene, it was like probably a 20-minute car chase scene that I thought was like the best car, like trumped anything in Fury Road, like the craziest scene I've seen in any Mad Max movie, really maybe in any action movie ever, where it's just like 20 minutes of pure just mayhem of, well, you have Anya Taylor-Joy under the war rig for most of it, trying to get up to the cabin. You have War Boys freaking flying all like the craziest action scene I've ever seen. That was so awesome. The amount of times I leaned forward my seat in this theater was insane, and that one was probably by far my favorite scene of the movie, the best action sequence of the movie. But I think what I appreciated most about Furiosa is it expanded the lore so much of Mad Max, because in Fury Road, all you really get of like this world in terms of the lore building is at the very beginning when Furiosa is like escaping, like I think a Morton Joe or someone's like, or one of his peasants is like, oh, they're heading to Gastown or something, and that's kind of all you get. But in this, you get to see what Gastown is. You get to see the Bullet Farm. You get to see these other, because it's really like the Citadel, the Bullet Farm, and Gastown, and you have the Green Place, this mythical thing, and that's kind of all there really is in this world. And I saw one funny tweet that was like saying, I would love it if the Mad Max universe is just like Australia is just this wasteland of warring, like apocalyptic world, and the rest of the world's completely normal, and they all know what's going on, but they just kind of let them be over there.
No, I swear this is what Australia is. Like,
I've
never been. I'm confident this is exactly what Australia is.
Yeah.
Now Nalbus can tell me if I'm wrong, or maybe Harry if either of them are listening, but this is just Australia. This is like a common Tuesday, the land down under.
Yeah, but I loved how they expanded the lore, and we got to get a more clear picture of what this map looks like and see what the Bullet Farm is, see what the Gastown is, and Dementis and his rise and trying to take over Morton Joe and their struggle for power in this universe. But yeah, I don't know where we really want to kind of dive into. One thing, just before I forget about it, talking about like especially the ending with Charlize Theron and Anya Taylor-Joy, I need to see it again, and maybe Doug, since he's seen it like a billion times, can confirm. I'm like 99.9% confident the final words we hear from Anya Taylor-Joy, where you don't see her face, that Charlize Theron did the voiceover for that. Like, I'm like 99% sure that was not Anya Taylor-Joy's voice. That like the very final scene, because it's only from the back of her head you see it, and it sounds so much like Charlize Theron. And maybe it's a great impression, but I was like,
no, I'm with you. I think so.
You think Charlize? Yeah, I was like so confident about that, and that's why I told Riley right walking out of the theater. But I don't know, like for me, the big things I want to talk about is the ending. So I'll let you guys kind of start in terms of talking about other stuff, because like the final act is what I want to talk most about. So lead us to there. What other stuff before that you want to talk about?
I definitely agree that my favorite moment was the like kind of initial. So once you first meet Anya Taylor-Joy in that first war rig like action sequence, that's probably my favorite moment. As well.
It's like a 25-minute moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 25-minute action scene, which is just awesome, like start to finish. You have the what did we say they were called earlier? The War Dogs,
War Boys.
Okay, yeah, they're like driving around trying to get on this rig, where Furiosa and whatever the other, I don't know what her gang's called, or I don't know what the other gang is called, because she's under the truck kind of killing everyone, and just the action set piece is insane. And you get that moment in the trailer where she spins around on the like harpoon cannon. Awesome moment in theaters. Like it is in the trailer. And you also get the moment, or maybe that's later, where from the trailer where the fire hits like the cross and she's standing right behind.
That's later when they're at the Bullet Farm.
Yeah. But either way, just this entire movie is just filled with incredible, awesome moments. And it's also worth noting that like all the action scenes are, like you said, like 25 minutes long. It's not like a 5-minute takeover of this war rig. Right. It's really awesome watch. It's very, very good movie.
There's a lot of like Leo snapping at the screen moments when you saw those stills that we've been seeing for weeks. But the thing I was like the craziest thing to me is I thought like the harpoon shot, and I thought like the fire coming out behind her, I just thought those were like set pics they were doing on set. And I was like, oh shit, those are actually like in the movie. I was like, because like I almost, when I was making videos talking about like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, and I was like finding those pictures of stills, I was like, I don't really know if this is like actually from like the movie, so I don't want to use these. But I was like, oh hell yeah, these are actually just like stills from the movie. But we got to talk about Chris Hemsworth as we get introduced to him. His 3 motorcycle chariot is so sick.
So cool.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
I just love I think the whole sequence in terms of the entrance of his character when obviously Furious gets like captured or whatever, and they drive her, to their. Have they got a name for their camp or anything, or is it just?
I'm sure they do, but not something I picked up on first watch.
Yeah. And I think that as they drop him off, and that guy's like, let me see the Mentis, whatever, because he wants to take the claim for it. I love that whole section because you're kind of going through, and it is just like it emphasizes how like gritty and dirty the film is, like what the people like, what they're striving for, the kind of disgusting scenarios they face, and that's kind of where you get the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's where you get the first kind of bit of brutality in the tent as well with Dementors, and I think that really emphasizes just how over the top the film is. And I love it again because it's kind of similar. Again, not to draw comparisons here. Well, I mean, I guess I can, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which we spoke about, he is like Proximus in that he is kind of like a false prophet-esque or like character, or they kind of treat him as such, and they hold him such a high regard, and they all kind of want his praise and want to be kind of under his wing per se, because he has like that kind of hold on him. And I think he really, Chris Hemsworth really captured that like incredibly well. And I love the little like kind of gang he has as well, because obviously there's the group of them, the massive camp, whatever, and then he has like the little guys who are like always around him. So there's the guy who is, I think he's like a technician or like a videographer technician or something in the Insidious movies. In this he's like he's the one who, what's his name?
Is he the not
engineer?
Engineer
guy. He gets like passed over. Like Immortan Joe takes him.
My favorite guy is the what's the fucking word? The definition guy. Shit. What I can't even think.
The older guy who's like
the history guy.
No, yeah, he doesn't.
The history guy's so silly, man.
Fucking book that tells you all the definitions of words.
Dictionary?
Thank you. The dictionary guy. I couldn't think of a goddamn dictionary. The dictionary guy was the funniest, where he's just asking him different words and he has to give him the definition of it. That's my favorite guy in this gang.
I actually love that. Like
I want a definition or a dictionary guy.
Just the little gang who just freaks, like just really strange individuals. They're like George Miller just having a whale of time coming up with and making them do stupid shit and just giving them names that are just incredibly bizarre. Like I saw someone tweet this morning, I don't know if you guys saw it, like it was like your name in Mad Max, it would be it would be like the profession of your granddad or grandfather, and the last like
bodily fluid that came out of you.
the last thing that come out that came out of you or something like that.
It's like a piss plumber or something.
Yeah, it's stupid.
A blood engineer.
But that's literally how they feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, but that was one of my favorite scenes of the film. Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes of the film. Just that kind of introduction. And then obviously, when they eventually go to the what's the Morton Joe's place called? Capital, whatever. Is that what
the Citadel.
Citadel. Yeah. When they eventually go there, I fucking love that scene so much. Just the interactions between the two, and then you've got kind of obviously they get there, and he's saying he's going to let them live, whatever. And I love the scene. That Immortan Joe is like side guy, the one with like the nose thing. It's such a the suit, so weird. And he says like, pick one of our war boys, and then they pick him, and he just splits himself straight away, sprays that shit.
There's no better way to show how crazy and
that is like the epitome of showing just how committed these fellas are to me right now.
Every time there's an explosion and it just goes to the red cloud of smoke, I love that. It was awesome.
It was fantastic. I think I see a lot of people like complaining about like the fire specifically, and it's the same in Fury Road. It's the same in Fury. It's exactly the same. But I love that scene when he goes to sit down for the first time, because it kind of like is just that push down on Dementor's ego, because he's like, as I said to Tyler, this almost prophet figure where people are like following him, and he's like, actually, this is what these guys do for us here. Do you know what I mean? We could just tell them to do something. They'll do it straight away.
Look how crazy these dudes are. He just sprays the chrome in his mouth, yells, "Witness me," zip lines off this thing, and just explodes himself. He's like, look, every single one of these dudes do that shit if I told him to.
Yeah,
So cool.
insane, man. That was definitely one of my favorite moments, I think.
Yeah, and so yeah, again, all
So
I'm kind of thinking about is the ending right now. But beyond that, like you kind of almost get a romantic side story too once you get Anya Taylor-Joy's character first introduced, where her and Tom Burke, who like Tom Burke, I don't know, he's almost similar to Cam. Who's that actor you're saying that about? In every movie.
Exactly. Yeah. What's his name? What's going on?
Shea Wiggum?
I don't think Tom Burke's in as many movies as Shea Wiggum, but
No.
I think I might be thinking about something different than Seth, maybe not, but like he plays a character where like I don't trust like him. It's
You're talking. I'm talking. Yeah.
who are you talking about? Like every time you see him,
Oppenheimer, he's in Oppenheimer and
Jason Clarke.
Jason Clarke.
Yeah, he reminded me of Jason Clarke in terms of like who also I think Jason Clarke might be Australian. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
No, he's not Australian. He's English.
Oh, he's English. Okay.
Also, I think he's an Australian actor, according to Google.
Oh, Jason Clarke. Australian?
Man, why couldn't Jason Clarke get in the?
Sorry, yeah. I meant Tom Burke is English.
Oh. He's from Winton, Australia. Jason.
Yeah, Jason Clarke, man, missed out on the George Miller cult, and they even got Chris Hemsworth's wife in there, Elsa Pataki, for the first like 3 minutes of the movie.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Someone told me. I didn't know
got her in it for like 3 minutes, and then I guess Chris is probably, I don't know, like they got his wife in it, but didn't get Liam Hemsworth in it because I feel like everyone just hates Liam Hemsworth, and he's like, "Hey man, you're getting all these Australians in your movie. Can I join?" And he's like, we're actually cast is full. Sorry.
He's doing something, right?
He's doing The Witcher.
He's done The Witcher, I think.
But I like to think George Miller's a Miley Cyrus stan. He's like, no, we're not rocking with you, Liam Hemsworth. You broke Miley Cyrus's heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tom Burke and Anya Taylor-Joy, that because like Cam was mentioning, our favorite part of the movie was that action scene where Anya Taylor-Joy is first getting up into the war rig, and at this point, the reason she's not talking and she's kind of hiding her hair is that she's trying to blend in. She doesn't want to be known as like, because in the Citadel world where initially she's with Dementis and grows up in captivity with him, and then basically Dementis is trying to get, what's the first one he is? Gastown is the first city that he gets like ownership over. Yeah. And part of that trade was that he had to give up Furiosa to Immortan Joe. And that's where
the mechanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's when Furiosa traded hands from being under the power of Dementis and the biker gang to now being in the Citadel under Immortan Joe. And then and obviously we know from Fury Road and obviously Furiosa as well that, women in this universe become, birthing mothers, are used for milk and really just kind of housewives, slaves of Immortan Joe. And Anya Taylor-Joy, Furiosa, obviously not interested in doing that. So she tries to keep her identity hidden because, as we know, this whole time, there's a whole revenge story. All she wants to get revenge on Dementis for killing her mother. She wants to take the seed her mother gave her and go back to the green place, plant it, rejuvenate that world, which is tragic because we see in Fury Road, of course, that world is completely gone at this point. The green place no longer really exists. So that makes the movie just another layer of more tragic, that she's fighting this whole time to get back to that place. And we find out in Fury Road that it's just not the same anymore. So at this point, she's in the Citadel, trying to blend in with the boys and trying to be like the war boys in terms of not getting her identity revealed. So she doesn't have to become like a housewife slave. She wants to keep on going out and venturing out and going on missions because she obviously knows that eventually she'll be able to use that freedom she's been given, those reins, and then ultimately be able to veer off and go back to the green place like we saw in Fury Road. But this is where her and Tom Burke are kind of going on these missions together, and we see that first big action scene that we love so much. And then Tom Burke, like it seems like he's on, like his name's Praetorian Jack, and it seems like he's on. They're obviously partners, but he finds out she's a woman when her like hair or whatever gets like blown off her, and then he's like, "Oh shit!" And it's kind of like a secret they have together, and it's like it took me a while to wonder, like, is Jack someone we can trust? Like, is he gonna rat her out, or are they gonna be together? But we ultimately see they almost develop like some sort of like a romance together, which I'm actually happy with the amount they did. Like, I'm glad they didn't really go too more heavy into it in terms of becoming like a full on love story between the two. But it was just enough to make her story, Furiosa's story, even more tragic with the ultimate result of him. But from there, we just kind of get some awesome, the middle chunk of the movie is basically just like awesome action sequences of Furiosa and Jack going on these missions to basically stop Dementis from trying to continue to grow power by scamming people at Gastown. He also gets control of Bullet Farm. So they're kind of just going on missions to both Gastown and Bullet Farm and try and get, the same amount of bullets and gas they're normally trying to get. But Dementis is starting to be a little bit of a fool, trying to be a prophet again and trying to eventually get enough power to then go and overthrow the Citadel, because he can't. Clearly, his ego was hurt by the fact that Immortan Joe's clearly just his superior, and his ultimate goal is to kind of take over and get back in power of the Citadel, or not back in power, gain power of the Citadel.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying to think of what else we can kind of go over before we get into kind of like the final act of the movie, being like the showdown between, Dementis and Furiosa, and then ultimately what leads us up to the end of and the beginning of Fury Road.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting that relationship, I think, works really well, and like you mentioned, does make the story a lot more tragic. Like, they have a lot of good moments together. Just where they're just almost like together, and I don't know why I just said good moments together where they're just together, but like, it's through the action that it really works, that relationship, and you actually care about it. So when obviously, okay, he gets killed, you care about it, and it's even more worth noting that like they don't meet till, I mean, she doesn't come in till the hour mark, and they don't meet till the hour 15 mark, and then they're in a relationship at hour 30, and you only have an hour left in the movie, or 45 minutes, and like 30 minutes with him. I think it's worth giving praise to George Miller for making that relationship something you can care about in such short amount of time. Just with all the shit that Furiosa had been through and everything, and then him being like a trustworthy person for the first time in this movie. It's praise to George Miller for that. I really did like their relationship, and I do think it added a layer to the story that I really wasn't expecting, like at all. So I think it worked really well. But I think like Immortan Joe attacks Gastown, right? And takes that back over, and then that kind of leads into the final act, right? Is kind of where we're at.
Well, I think Gastown was first, and then he goes for the bullet farm. And that's where like the first like big battle. That's like kind of like, that's where like the fire going through the grates scene is.
Yeah,
that's where her and Tom Burke ultimately get captured when they run away. But okay. Yeah, I think kind of just the relationship, like you're saying. I think so much of it's done like through like their physical acting, like their eyes looking at each other, and so much of it's just the chemistry they build through these battles where they're just playing off each other so well. And yeah, it's when you watch Fury Road, you kind of think like Furiosa's heartless isn't the right answer, but you feel like she's more like so goal driven. She's only focused on one thing, that you wouldn't think like she would ever have these romantic feelings or get in these like type of relationships. So it just added another level of humanity, where it's easy in these Mad Max movies. And you see someone like Max, and like Seth was saying, they're these mythical figures almost. You can kind of start to detach yourself from realizing they're like human beings. So I think there's a lot of great humanization in Furiosa that just continue to build out beyond the lore of this universe, built out the lore of these people. But then, yeah, we get the bullet farm action sequence, which you have just the crazy car chases around like the canyon of all these, the cavern of all the people, and just crazy action, which then leads to kind of where Furiosa and Jack start to try to run away. But that's where Dementis captures them, starts to torture them. It's where you find, well, yeah, that is both where you find out how she initially injures her arm, and then how her arm gets eventually ripped off. From initially she was like holding her gun out the window trying to shoot someone, and then kind of gets her car get banged into, and that's what initially like snapped her arm, burned her arm. And then when she gets tied up, you can kind of theorize she probably just like kind of yanks the final straw of some flesh to get that arm officially off her, to get her to go free.
She's like hung up on the front of the car, and then
Jack's being
dragged.
Yeah,
and then
crazy.
The dog's chasing, because obviously we see a similar thing at the start. Do you remember? It was not with the dogs per se, but you got at the start when there's the
5 bikes,
and it's like different directions. Just four bikes from there. Okay, yeah. Just pulling a guy apart, just legs and arms, and it's very like
to kill someone. By the way,
again, it's so like it's such brutality, isn't it? And it really shows just kind of the lengths people are willing to go through, especially Dementis. Because I think Dementis needs these moments, as well as like the comedy and stuff, because he needs these moments of brutality and wickedness to like emphasize just how psychotic he is, as well as just being a bombing idiot. But yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy, definitely.
Yeah. She goes back to the Citadel, right, and is like again portraying a male, which she does for most of this movie, right? And then she goes after Dementis after that. like shaves her head, I guess, and goes after Dementis. So that's kind of how you get to the shaved head look. Which it does make you wonder, like throughout the movie, you're like, when's she going to shave her head? Because, obviously in Mad Max Fury Road, she has a shaved head. She has a lost arm. And it's nice seeing the moments where obviously you have to do it in the prequel, but you're like, all right, when are we going to shave this head? Fury
We saw it in the trailer as well, that scene, didn't we?
Yeah. Do you think when you're under the Citadel and Morton Joe, like, you don't get access to knives? Because like, there's like, I'm not complaining about it. It's just like a silly little thing. It's like, her hair is super long when it gets revealed to Tom Burke. Like, don't you think she could have like intermittently like went to the bathroom area and just like intermittently just kept cutting her hair off and shaving it instead of just like letting it be a full on mane of hair?
Hey, maybe she's just trying.
All the war boys are bald. Like, how could she not? Not part of the same regiment. But but then the end scene of her chasing down Dementis really mirrors the opening scene of her getting captured, in terms of it being just the desolate desert of a very intimate chase of just a couple people chasing after Dementis. And then Dementis kind of has two guys with them on separate bikes, and they kind of say one go left, one go right, one go center. She ultimately tracks him down, and you get that acting standoff the between Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth that is so great, which, it's one of those things that I say often about a lot of movies I love, where it's like, I wanted more from it, but I don't know if that's just because I think more would have benefited, or it's just like, it was just so awesome that, give me more. But the standout, like, I know Riley, when we walked out of it, said she was wishing it was a little more like satisfying in terms of like a brutal ending. Cause it was kind of just her, she ends up basically kind of just like starving him, dehydrating him, letting him sleep while he's just clearly getting like hallucinations and dying on his own, basically. And she's like, I'll just shoot you. She ends up shooting him in the back of the head, right? So it's like when he doesn't see it coming. Which is, I don't know. It's interesting because they have like a whole monologue going back and forth where she's like, or he says, shoot me in the back of the head so I won't know it's coming. Like, that adds a lot more fear into me. She's like, no, I want you to look at me when I kill you. But then she just kind of goes to the back of the head anyway. So I don't know. I thought that was a little interesting how it ended up.
I think it at least shows, because she's from the green place, whatever, like with all these, and I think it just shows her humanity a little bit more, that she's not as like brutal as these people in the Citadel. She's not a war dog or a war boy. I keep forgetting their fucking names.
Not Jonah Hill and Miles Teller in the desert.
Exactly.
Chrome Boy.
She's not a war boy. She has a little bit more humanity, and I think that's kind of what I took away from it. Is like, she's not as brutal as them, but still is badass and will fucking kill you.
I think narratively it works really well in terms of how she kills him. Like you said, it shows her humanity, but it's one of those things when you watch like a revenge epic of this scale, you almost want something like a John Wick where you're like, make it brutal at the end. I want like a crazy kill, shove a pencil in his eye or something, John Wick style. But just a whole different. These obviously films are way different thematically than the John Wick movies, and this is a revenge tale like a John Wick film, but it's far different than that in terms of what George Miller is going for. But you get that acting showdown between the two. Some great back and forth. The most times you hear Anya Taylor-Joy talk throughout this in terms of back-to-back lines. And at this point, Dementis is kind of dead. And I'm trying to wonder if there's anything between that and where they just officially go full on, like, we're going to lead us right into Fury Road.
That peach pit in him, right? And
oh yeah, that's crazy imagery. The peach pit being
that is crazy.
I can imagine so many people seeing that and being like, what the fuck? This stinks or stupid, but that's crazy. Like, that's such a huge swing from George Miller. That's so cool.
I know. I really like that.
That's fucking crazy.
And then I think after that is kind of just like, hey, next comes Fury Road. You get like 10 minutes of this is Fury Road.
What do you guys think of like I don't think it was actually Tom Hardy or whatever. Maybe it was the same clip, but what do you think about like the cameo?
It was actually, here's a fun fact. It was his stunt double on Fury Road and also in The Revenant. Jacob Tamuri is his name. So he is who plays Max, which that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out
the Fall Guy. Shout out Furiosa. Paying respect to the stunt doubles.
Yeah. But part of that might just be that Tom Hardy was like such an ass on the set of Fury Road that George Miller was like, I don't want this guy back, but we'll bring a stunt double back. But what do you guys think of that moment? I think that was a moment where like people in my theater, it was like a very MCU moment where people in my theater were like, oh, like
it's very much like silly. It's very much like a, hey, here next comes Fury Road, which I do think benefits if you watch them back to back. Kind of.
I'm excited to double it. You know,
but that's like, those are the moments you have to put in to get those applause and those whoa, you know, from the layman people. And fuck, I'd do it as well. But yeah, it definitely are those moments you have to get like cheer worthy moments kind of thing.
That didn't happen in my son.
And like Seth said, the reason why the double feature is gonna be extra cool for this prequel is because I'm sure it's happened before, and I'm sure it's happened in ones I've seen where I just can't remember, but I don't think I can remember off the top of my head like a prequel that leads actually straight up into the original in this manner,
right,
where it fully is just a continuous story where you could go immediately. I mean, so much so to the fact of where like if you watch these back to back, like the first like 3 minutes of Fury Road, you'd be like, come on, let's skip this. We already saw this in Fury Road. So like that's just how much of a tie-in these are, which is so cool to see. Because like how cool it was for me to see like the end of this lead right into Fury Road like outweighs parts of it that make it a little bit of an issue for me. So there's a couple things like I don't know. It's just the relationship in Furiosa with Immortan Joe and Furiosa. I didn't get enough between them of like her being because like in she seems so like hell bent revenge, and I know it's because like what he does to the mothers and how he keeps them slaves, and she wants to free them, and she wants to get the green place. So I get like why she would have animosity there, but I just feel like for me, I didn't get enough in Furiosa of like her and Immortan Joe having this like horrible relationship where she's so traumatized by what she's seen in the Citadel, so horrified by what Immortan Joe does to people, to where like I would be ready to go immediately from Furiosa to Fury Road and be like, okay, Furiosa hates Immortan Joe, wants to kill him more than anything in the world, and kill all these people and rush away. So I don't know. I think that's the only thing that like left me a little bit like, because obviously this movie focuses so much on Dementis, and like obviously the revenge is on Dementis, and then immediately from killing Dementis, she goes back to the Citadel and pretty much leaves immediately and goes to the Green Place. I just don't know if Furiosa set up enough for me of like her hatred of the Citadel for me to then like buy into like what happens in Fury Road. But I don't know. I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I again think it's just like coming from the Green Place where women are a lot more in power than obviously here. And I think obviously I think it's a kid of Immortan Joe or whoever tries to rape her at one point. And I think that gives enough of a hatred.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's that Rictus Erectus guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think go on, Cam.
No, I just saying like I think she coming from where she's from, like with the humanity and everything, and just also women being a lot more valuable in the Green Place that she's from. I feel like it does a fine job. It definitely could have done more. You're not wrong, but I think in order to tell its own story with the Dementis character, rather than just having the villain be Immortan Joe of both of them, you know.
I think it's built by big moments as well, because in Furious you probably could have had a little bit more. I definitely agree, but I think kind of the oppression that showcases how the value of women in both areas, and also like there are two main scenes in the Citadel. You've got the one like Cam mentioned, Rictus Erectus, which, and then obviously Furiosa manages to escape and whatever, and then you've also got the scene where the woman in there gives birth. And then she's kind of like, no, you're done because you've not given us this yet. And he kind of signifies that throughout it's clear oppression that's taking place. The clear women are only there for kind of these sole purposes. So it's kind of built on big moments, which kind of, I guess, gives you enough. But yeah, I also think you could have done with a little bit more, just in terms of the impacts of Immortan Joe specifically, because, in those scenes, he's not really a member of them per se. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really against him as much. So yeah, I definitely get it. I think showing how showing the Green Place at the start definitely helps. But yeah, no, I definitely get that. To be honest, it's definitely a valid criticism, 100%.
Well, because kind of like you were mentioning, with like Rictus Erectus and like some of the supporting people were so awful. But like the thing is tough. It's because like this is a Dementis story, so it's like Immortan Joe. Like Riley and I Riley said this too when we walked out. Where it's like Immortan Joe almost seemed like the more like benefactor of a leader. Like you're like, this guy kind of seems like he has his head screwed on more, like clearly still like a dictator running this place, but like seems like things are kind of running smooth, like as smooth as it can be. Like it would seem like you'd rather have Immortan Joe be your leader than Dementis. Like I feel like it's not a crazy take. So it's like when you see
both horrible people, it's like coughing baby versus nuclear bomb. Well, at that point, but you're not wrong, I guess.
Well, I think that would be the coughing baby and nuclear bomb would mean one is way worse than the other.
I don't know. Coughing baby's kind of worse.
This is nuclear.
But no, it's almost like Immortan Joe's like a horrible leader who's predictable. Dementis is a horrible leader who's unpredictable. And like some part, when you compare them side by side, it's like you'd probably prefer the predictability of Morton Joe in some instances where it's like you kind of know what you're going to get. Terrible life, but Dementis is kind of dude. It seems like might just like turn around and just like shoot you in the head at any moment in time. Like you just never know what he's going to do. But yeah, it's hard to compare the two, obviously. But it's just interesting because it's such a Dementis focused revenge story that then like immediately right when Dementis is dead, it's like right, we're going right back to Morton Joe. I'm going to kill him, and yeah, I don't know. And then I do think, like I said, Charlize Theron is her voice, and we kind of lead right into them escaping. And I don't really know. So like the final scene when she kind of loads up the war rig, it's so darkly lit that and you kind of see like Zoe Kravitz in them, but I'm like, I feel like they didn't come back for this. Like was it just some like CGI composite?
I don't think
I thought that, but I feel like they didn't.
According to the casting, they did not.
Yeah. If they came back, I feel like he would have like lit the scene a little better. Like I feel like they wanted to make it a composite.
It did look like them, didn't it?
Very much so, but it was like I kind of got to squint. I'm like, yeah, that's Zoe Kravitz. It's a very dark scene. I think it was like a CGI superimpose of them, but yeah, kind of cool moment.
Couple fun facts on this movie, just of being. I was reading into him and then kind of enjoyed him. Is Anya Taylor-Joy apparently just doesn't have a driver's license, so hell yeah for her for never needing one and living somewhere that she's never needed one, but apparently doesn't have it, and probably learned a good amount in this. I guess first day of like stunt training, learned how to do a U-turn or J-turn, which I don't know what the difference between a U and a J-turn is, but and then another one is that this one I've kind of known for a while, but didn't know until I read it again, is George Miller, I guess, wrote this while writing Mad Max Fury Road just to make sure that they lined up perfectly. And I think we made note of that earlier, is a lot of times in prequels, you put things in that like weren't explained at all in the sequels, and so it's just like kind of weird. But it's interesting that he wrote these at the exact same time. I think I've heard that one prior. But definitely a cool little tidbit that he did there.
Yeah, what's kind of crazy is that in Fury Road, and again, I don't know how much of this is because like there's a prequel and like it explores some things that the sequel won't, but Fury Road, you never hear about like Dementis or this uprising or this big war, because what is it, like the war of like several weeks or whatever they ended up calling it. There's some name for it, like where the narrator comes in, like this war went on for weeks or whatever. You never hear or mention anything about that. And it's almost like makes you wonder if this is just like almost every day of the week for Morton Joe. Like there's always some kind of cult trying to do some sort of uprising that he has to swat down that. And then like kind of Fury Road being another chase. It almost seems like this is just flavor of the month for Morton Joe. It's like, goddamn, another mission we got to go on to shut these people down. They're trying to take us down. But unfortunately, Nathan Jones plays Rictus Erectus, kind of falls into the Jesse Plemons and El Camino thing here in terms of, he's still looking really good, but definitely gained some pounds between this and that. So it's kind of a little funny. Like it's not a big thing, but it's like, going directly from this to Fury Road, how it leads right in. It's like, what is Rictus Erectus's plan for how he drops all that belly fat between Furiosa and Fury Road? Like Morton Joe's like, dude, Dementis almost took us down. You got to get on the Ozempi real quick if we want to stave off the next rebellion, or else we're going to be toast, Rictus. You got to get back in your prime. But yeah, great to see all the cast returning. It was very fun. But yeah, it's going to be fun to double feature. I think theaters will be, theaters wouldn't be crazy. Theaters would probably be smart to not have double features of this financially, but they should have double features of it just for being cool people, because I want to see this in the theater back to back. Yeah, this was definitely longer than Fury Road. I mean, don't fact check.
I think Fury Road was only like 2:05. I'm going to say.
There's a lot. 2 hours on the nose. Where this was 2 hours. This is 2 hours 38 minutes, or 2 hours 28 minutes. So we're getting another half hour longer. And to me, it definitely felt longer. But I don't. And I think the part structure almost does a little disservice. I feel like naturally when you have 5 parts and you have the title cards, it makes you feel the length more. It makes you be like, oh, okay, we're on to the next part. So it almost like in your mind, each part takes like 30-ish minutes. So it's like once you see another part, you're like, oh, buckle, like say for the last title card, for example, once another one comes up, you're like, oh man, we got 30 more minutes of this, which I was happy about because I love the movie. But I don't know. I feel like those title cards just make you feel the length a little more. But yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts. I think it was great. Revenge story, a lot of great humanity thrown in here. Never mind. I have some thoughts on just the Mad Max franchise as a whole, but we'll save that for when we actually talk about just the franchise in general. But yeah, I mean, this is a 4.5 star for me. It's right behind Dune Part 2, and I don't have anything else of it. Yeah, so it's just Dune Part 2 and then this and then Challengers. But the score is great. I think Seth was mentioning the score. I think it's incredible. Action filmmaking to a level we haven't really seen before. The lore continues to expand in this universe in such a major way and such an interesting way. Box office isn't doing great, so I don't know if we're ever going to see Mad Max Wasteland, which was always the planned next film of being, I believe
I think it'll still make its money back. If I had to guess, I could be wrong about that, but if I had to guess,
I hope so. I hope you're right, because I'm wondering if it's one of those things where it's like, Fury Road became like, such a classic after the fact that they're like, oh, we're probably going to make a ton of money now. So if it doesn't,
they expect more. Yeah,
who knows?
I get you.
Which, what if that happens with the Nice Guys too? Everyone's like, oh, we need the Nice Guys too. We need the Nice Guys too. Look at this fandom. And then it comes out and it just flops the box office. And it's like,
it's never coming out. That's the issue. It's just never coming out, which sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's kind of to attribute this, like, not doing that great box office wise. Like, I think a lot of it does have to do with what I said earlier.
Think this is a super popular franchise.
It's definitely not a super popular franchise.
Really.
It's not the most accessible to a general audience to be like, we're gonna, and it's not like that experimental by any stretch of the imagination or that hard to grasp. But I'm talking general audience here. I'm talking people who want to see 2 movies a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to want to see a movie. I'm talking Fury Road right now, which would make you, because if you've seen Fury Road and liked it, you're probably going to be hyped to see Furiosa. So I'm talking Fury Road. The people who are going to see 2 movies a year aren't really going to want to watch a movie where, even if it's the greatest action they've ever seen, if it's going to be 10 lines of dialogue and nothing but pure action with some crazy people, even though that's like, to us who have watched a ton of films, we're like, there's a pretty accessible movie. General audience, they're going to see not this movie. But in general, really, Dune Part 2 is kind of the only thing that did well at the box office so far this year, right? Am I forgetting something? Like, did anything? I feel like every week all I see on Twitter is like
Panda kind of
underperforming.
Flopped, I think, or did it do well? I can't remember.
Well, all the Kung Fu Panda movies sneakily do like 800 million ish. So if Kung Fu Panda did it, like, if Kung Fu Panda did under 500 million, I'd say panic mode for the general box office.
505 million.
Ooh, we're okay. Oof. We're okay by 5 million. I think 500 was my panic territory.
Yeah, that's
I think Challengers actually ended up doing decent too, because I think that had some good staying power. I think it ended at like 80-ish million, which I don't know what the budget was on that, but
let's say 80 million. Good poll.
Challengers budget.
Let's see the budget.
55 million. Okay, so still not doing great, but
made some.
Yeah,
after marketing.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I'm trying to look at my 2024 ranked. I'm not seeing anything that like did well at the box office, like at all. Monkey Man was a huge flop.
Mm-hmm.
I think The Beekeeper might have done okay. Civil War did really well, but I think Civil War like falls into those. Like I was saying, that's like one of the 2 movies people are going to see this year is Civil War, and then I don't know what's coming out later this year. That's a big
112 million. Good for it.
It's really like the only thing I kind of like blew their but that was also an expensive ass movie, wasn't it? Civil War budget. Hopefully it doesn't bring up like the American Civil War budget. $50 million that made 112. Like that's still not smashing anything.
Yeah. Like, you're making good money. There's no Skinamarink of the year or something like that.
Where someone's making like 100x.
Yeah. 100 times their budget, or like $1 million movie that's making 100 million. Like
there's no anyone but use.
Yeah, there's nothing crushing it really.
Which it's bleak out there, man. The box office is bleak right now. So I mean, this is a movie that demands to be seen on the big screen.
We forgot about the other movie that came out this week that we're not talking. Let's see how it did.
Garfield.
Yeah,
I think it made about the same amount.
About the same. Furiosa up in smoke with lowest Memorial Day opening in decades. 31 million. Might get clawed by Garfield.
Garfield cost 60 million still, but not that much. Or I mean, not cheap either.
No.
But I think it made about the same, right? Furiosa Garfield in tight race for number 1 at the box office.
Yeah.
Tie for number 1, 31 million, and bleak Memorial Day weekend battle. Yeah, bleak is just a word to describe the box office right now in theater going experiences. Everything's bleak.
Because I feel like movie people.
I feel like the past like 5 years was people saying the box office is bleak because people are only seeing these like quote unquote like bad movies that are just like popcorn movies and aren't seeing like the good stuff. Whereas now it's to the point where it's like, dude, the popcorn movies people aren't seeing either. And I think it just further shows Marvel's influence. Like Marvel really hasn't been cranking out movies like they used to, like the past, like
we
this year they
haven't
only have
gotten
one
one
MCU movie. Yeah.
this year until
so
obviously Deadpool.
And I think that brings a lot of people back to the theater. And, you know, you get 40 minutes of trailers before a movie. You know, I think Deadpool hopefully can kind of revive things, because I know the pre-sales for Deadpool is like the largest R-rated pre-sale ever. So it seems like that's going to do well at the box office.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, we get, you know, I know we are right now, but we continue to get Twisters trailers before those, stuff like that. That's going to hopefully push people back. But yeah, theater going experience is very bleak right now. Go see Furiosa on the big screen. Even though we're in the spoiler section, so I don't think we need to tell anyone to go see it right now, hopefully, because you've seen it already. But 4.5 for me, 4.5 for Cam, 4.5 for Seth, 5-star for George, and George will be seeing it 5 more times, or 4. I can't remember his screenshots. At least 4, maybe 5 more times this week before next week. So he's on vacation in Charleston right now. He wanted to be a part of this, but not able to make it happen. But I mean, I'm sure next week on the Richard Linklater special, he'll give his thoughts, simply because he'll have seen it 5 times at that point. So I'm sure he'll have stuff he wants to say. But we'll kind of leave our Furiosa conversation there. We all loved it. Go see this on the big screen. Go see it again if you've already seen it. We want Mad Max Wasteland, so please help us get there by getting the box office up on this. But now we're not going to do the same sort of deep dive as we did with other directors' filmographies. It's more going to be like a general conversation, but going to break it up in between Mad Max conversation, and then we'll do like, because I know we'll touch on, like, Seth and I can touch on 3,000 Years of Longing. I'll touch on like Happy Feet, and just we'll kind of like pick apart George Miller's filmography a tiny bit after this. But right now, focusing blinders on Mad Max. And I don't think we're going to go movie by movie, but it's just, I just want to talk about the franchise in general, because for me, I've seen Mad Max 1 years and years and years ago, like before Fury Road even, but I never watched 2 and 3 until finally like this week before Furiosa. And I just, like, in my mind, I just memory hold the fact that like Mad Max 1 was like very much like a police chase with crazy car chases. So I was like, oh, the first 3 Mad Maxes are all just like police car chases in normal society. And then Fury Road's what makes it like this post-apocalyptic, crazy world, ridiculous world. And Furiosa continues that with the prequel. And then I watched 2 and 3, and I was like, oh, I was completely wrong. Mad Max 1 is kind of the outlier here. Like, that's a more grounded Mel Gibson, like crazy police car chases, still very mythical, and a lot of the themes are still the same. But in terms of like the world that George Miller builds, it's like Mad Max kind of stands alone. And then we get like 2 immediately just throws us into like, oh shit, we're like near Fury Road type world right now. Then Mad Max 3 or Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, ridiculous and crazy and wild. So it's like, this franchise is such a weird and wild franchise. Have you all seen all of them, all 5?
Yeah, so I'd already seen the first 3, but I hadn't seen any of them in years. So it was a rewatch for me on this week. One of the main things I took away, and I texted you guys after I watched the first 3, is how much the difference in quality between 2 and 1 and 3. Like, 1 for me, I distinctly remember as being a lot more simplified, as Tyler said. And then 2 kind of really goes into that just unrestrained imagery, just again incredibly vast, similar to like Fury Road. But I think 2 expands on everything, especially Mad Max as a character, and his kind of mystique, and brings, you know, some of the productions in all 3 of these are fucking amazing, but especially in 2, especially the final sequence of 2. 2 is just crazy. And for me, I just had such a much better time with 2. And then I spoke to someone else about this last week. I think 3, Thunderdome struggles. You can really tell there was 2 directors working on this. Is the thing. There are a lot of sequences which are just not really there. Like, especially some of the chase sequences in 3, the main one. It's just kind of underwhelming, which is not something you expect.
I guess also from what I've just been reading in, like Beyond the Thunderdome originally was not a Mad Max like sequel. It was just a different project that George Miller was working on, and then I guess they pulled it into the Mad Max franchise. So you can tell, I think, just the quality difference after 2, and just kind of, it feels like a lot of things are just brought in to be brought in almost. To be in the Mad Max realm. I feel like you can tell kind of that it definitely wasn't always meant to be a Mad Max story. Just kind of works for it.
Yeah, I probably agree. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because 2 is I actually really enjoyed 2, like more than I remember, to be honest. Like, I thought 2 was great.
So I guess it, like just reading it up, I guess it was meant to be like a Lord of the Flies-esque cult of children living in a bleak wasteland. And then George Miller suggested that the adult who finds the kid cult should be Max, and that's kind of what brings in the Mad Max franchise.
Yeah, it's just kind of a weird film. I don't hate it. I think Mad Max Thunderdome works. I think the peak of it is like almost the first act, and the more you continue, I think it just gets worse, and kind of just becomes dumbfounded and just bizarre, to be honest. And it doesn't really work as a Mad Max film, so it makes sense that it wasn't originally pitched as one. Yeah, the main thing I took away is just how much better 2 is, and how much more I enjoyed 2 than the first and the third one, 100%.
Yeah, I think Mad Max, like as a franchise, has, this might be a hot take. I don't think it is, though. I think it is the only franchise I think there's a definitive correct ranking of the Mad Max movies.
I would actually agree.
Fury, I think we all have this one too. Fury Road, Furiosa, 2, 1, 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have Fury Road higher than Furiosa right now.
I can't. On one watch, I can't.
Don't you?
No, I changed that for like a week.
It's on the collection, though, isn't it?
No,
Is it just the week? Isn't Fury Road in the collection? Am I crazy?
No.
I can't remember.
Maybe we talked about this last week or something. I thought it was in the collection. All right,
it was in the original collection for like a
either
week.
way, you are you're hesitant. I think for the most part, that's the correct ranking, and I think all of us have that exact.
Furiosa could pass Fury Road for me, but I can't on one watch. I can't say that on one. I've seen Fury Road like 5 times, so Furiosa could, but I think that's the only 2 you could debate. I think other than that, the ranking
of the
original 3, 2, 1, 3 is correct.
2, 1, 3 is correct, and I almost refuse to believe anyone that has a different ranking of 2, 1, 3. I almost refuse to believe that, but film subjective, of course. But I think this is an objective ranking. Of
at least franchise. 2 above 1 and 3. Like 1 and 3, if you switch, whatever. I'm not going to throw a fit, but I think clearly it's 2, 1, 3. But 2 is just so much better. Like 2 is not quite Fury Road, Furiosa, but like it's almost there for me. Like I really enjoyed number 2 a lot.
I know like Nalvis has Mad Max 2 as a 5 out of 5. So I don't know what his rankings are, but I'm saying he's wrong. And the objective ranking is... He's
a huge Mad Max guy. He just recorded a 3.5 hour podcast with the Looks Like a Movie pod guys on Furiosa last night.
It's like, it's pride and joy, though. I think George Miller as an Australian filmmaker, obviously Albus being Australian, it is that thing. And I think he exemplifies Australia in a way of personality, of artistic value. And I think the fact he works with like mostly just solely Australian people and brings so many locals into the films, it's kind of the guy you could just easily root for. Do you know what I mean? I think people can take a lot of pride with that.
The production of the original Mad Max is just one of the most fascinating like production stories. Like you can watch, there's a bunch of different like behind the scenes things on YouTube, but a lot of it is just like illegally shot stuff. Like they didn't have any money basically. George Miller like worked as an ER director or a doctor or physician to raise money for it. Like they didn't have money to shut down streets or anything. They just started driving as fast as possible on different streets, hoping no one else would drive by. Basically, a lot of the extras were like paid in beer and paid in like snacks and stuff. Like none of them actually got real money. I think there's one truck driver on it, like got severely injured and they just like didn't pay him or anything for it. And I think they gave him some things towards like when 2 and 3 started actually making money, they gave him a little bit of like help afterwards. But yeah, they just weren't going to pay him or anything. And it's a very fascinating production because this entire thing like should not have been made just from the stuff they were given originally.
Yeah, I was reading up on some of the stuff too, especially like the very first one that like it's like a miracle that like dozens didn't die making these movies. Like, they I don't think
any safety things.
If they had a stunt coordinator, it was a dude who's like, yeah, I can coordinate the stunts. Like it wasn't like a dude who had a license or anything. It's just like, yeah, just drive and we're just gonna just crash these cars and it's all gonna be like the production behind these are insane. And obviously like Fury Road and Furiosa, I'm sure are very intense productions as well. But you'd like to imagine they're a lot more legit. Whereas these original ones are like very much crazy that people weren't getting severely injured all the time. But
I get this is a funny one that I'm just reading off of IMDb, the Johnny the Boy Tim Burns was so into character that he annoyed everyone on set and was abandoned one day during lunch. He was handcuffed to the wreck, and they just left him for lunch. Left him there.
For Mad Max 1?
For Mad Max 1, for the very first Mad Max, they just left the dude there. That's awesome. That's awesome. Just guys. I feel like Jared Leto, if you could do that now, he would get left on one set.
Yeah, on the Suicide Squad set, be like, we're gonna put you in character and put you in jail for this scene, and then they just like all like, that's a wrap for the day. Everyone go home, get some rest, leave Leto in this cage. But yeah, like the franchise is so wide, and it's just so funny that I'd only ever seen the original Mad Max, because I just did not think that 2 and 3 were going to go the directions they were. 3 I thought was so cool in terms of the opening act. I was like, oh shit, this movie's gonna rip, like the whole like cage and like fight for your death, and you have like this whole world, and then it becomes that like Lord of the Flies ish, Goonies ish thing Cam was mentioning, I guess, is what the intention was. And it's like I put this on my reviews, like that the meme that goes around is like, what happened to the game I love? Because like the first act I was like, hell yeah, and then it just like goes away from that. I'm like, no, go back to that. Like that was so awesome. Like I want more of this. But 2 I think is like right up there with Furiosa and Fury Road in terms of how much I enjoy it. I will probably never ever rewatch Mad Max or Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Mad Max 2 I'll probably rewatch. I can see myself rewatching Mad Max. I don't think I ever need to see Beyond Thunderdome ever again though. But yeah, my rankings: Fury Road right now, Furiosa. I do think those could flip. Like I said in my Furiosa review, I think
maybe they
go
can.
To 5, it could go down to 4. I just don't know yet. 1 watch isn't enough. I think I'm like just totally random aside. Like I think I'm gonna start being more strict about like 5 stars on first watches, because like I think so many of them, it's not only like, I just think I need to rewatch them, which I used to like hate that mindset. But there's so many movies I give a 5-star and then like I don't watch it for 3 years and don't think about it for 3 years. So I was like, can it really even be a 5-star if I actually have never thought about it for 3 years? You know. So
have you guys seen how much money Mad Max made? I had no idea about this.
Nope.
The first one.
First one.
Get just this. You ready? So the budget was 350,000, right? Which is crazy. Which is like conversion
for a movie like that, especially crazy.
Yeah. Again, it was all illegal. They didn't pay for anything. They just
made 100 million off 350,000.
That's
it's set a Guinness World Record at the time for budget to box office ratio. That's insane. By the way, that's like
really impressive. Good and that's where this starts. Like this franchise gets. That's how you get 5 movies, right? You could just. That's how you get 5 movies. I will say, I'm kind of out on the Mad Max franchise. I don't like it. I'll admit. I'm just being honest. I liked Mad Max Fury Road and Mad Max. Or I guess Furiosa, and I don't hate 2 or 1.
I mean, you're out of it. You just love the last 2 films.
Yeah, I love them. I don't know if I'm like in love with them though, you know.
So you wouldn't
feel that like
a new one?
Mad Max I've seen twice and I think it's fantastic every time, but I have no urge to rewatch. Furiosa I'll rewatch again. I have no urge to rewatch these, I feel like.
Really?
I'm out on the Mad Max. That's my hot take of the week. Is I'm kind of I'm not a big fan of the Mad Max franchise. So like you guys are talking
crazy,
about 2. You guys are talking about 2 like it's amazing, and I thought it was good. I did think it was good. I don't love it. I think I gave it like a 70, 68 or something like that around there. I
get it. I just think that like you just give Furiosa.
I liked Furiosa a lot. I don't think I care about the Fury Road's a 5 out of 5. It's a perfect movie or whatever you want to call it, like a 96 out of 100 or something like that. Awesome to watch every time, but I don't like yearn to see more of this franchise. I'm not like I need the next story in the Mad Max franchise.
I'm trying to calculate my response because it's like weird because I almost like agree with you in a weird way where I love Furiosa and Fury Road and I love Mad Max 2 and I think I like the franchise more than you do. And
if I were not on this podcast,
if a new Mad Max comes out,
I would have seen Furiosa.
Okay, that's crazy.
I would have definitely seen Furiosa. I'm sure you going off Mad Max Fury Road, which you like.
I really love Fury Road. I probably would have. Okay, I don't know if I. This weekend was a busy weekend. I don't know if I would have used my Memorial Day weekend to go see it. If I had free time.
Yeah, that's just most films. I think for me,
that's
anyway.
That's
That's fair.
Yeah, I definitely like the Mad Max franchise more than you. It sounds like, but I can kind of see a little bit where you come from in terms of like if Mad Max Wasteland is coming out, I'll see it opening weekend and be excited for it. But like there's other franchises where I'm like, can't wait for the next one, need the next one. It's more like I'll watch Mad Max immediately when they come out, but I'm not like yearning for it to come out. It's like when it comes out, I'll watch it, but I'm not like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another franchise that makes me feel that way. I don't really know if it probably like when Harry Potter.
For me, I'm amped for MCU. I'd be amped for Harry Potter. But I almost feel like the Mad Max is just like a franchise I care about as much as like Fast and Furious. They just make better movies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I would be like, I'm clamoring for like a new Tarantino, a new Scorsese, a new like if they're coming out with a new movie, I'm like counting down the days. Whereas like Mad Max is more like if it's coming out, I'm amped for it, but I'm not going to be.
That's an unfair comparison.
The
the franchise versus just the director.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to wonder where like Cam's coming from, I guess. But I definitely like Mad
Max. I get it. I think.
Yeah, as I was watching the older ones, I'm like, I feel no connection to these.
I think the older ones are just vastly different, though.
They are.
Yeah, but I really like 2.
Are pretty close.
I mean, I really like 2.
Yeah, I think I enjoy this franchise, but I don't care. Like, I don't love it, or in love with it, I should say.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's like my hot take of the week, I guess, even though it's probably not that hot of a take. So yeah, my rankings, I think we've all said, obviously, Fury Road, Furiosa, 2, 1, 3 is that. I think that's the correct ranking. Correct me if I'm wrong, fellas. It's my niece's birthday, so since we have a good clean break here, I'm gonna go hang out with my niece who's been here for the past couple hours. Very sorry to hop on late and then also leave, but I hope you guys have a wonderful finishing. And I didn't watch any of George Miller's other movies. I wasn't necessarily yearning for Babe 2. This weekend for happy.
I've heard Babe 2 is the OG Paddington 2. Low key.
Really? All right. Maybe I got to check it out. But fellas, I hope you have a fantastic Memorial Day. I will see y'all later.
Peace out. So the only other George Miller movies I've seen are the 2 Happy Feets and 3,000 Years of Longing. And yeah, I haven't seen any of the. I think Babe 1. I think I like had on VHS as a kid or something.
Babe 1's not George Miller.
Right. But I think I've seen Babe 1, but I know I've never seen Babe 2. Happy Feet 1 and 2. All right, I'd seen Happy Feet before, rewatched it yesterday. Had never seen Happy Feet 2, watched it the first time yesterday. And like, so what else we have? We have Twilight Zone, the movie. Haven't seen that.
Well, I mean,
he only directed a segment of it, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. So I don't know if it's on his filmography, but can you really count that? The Witches of Eastwick, which was between Beyond Thunderdome and
I haven't seen that.
The Happy Feet. I haven't seen that. Lorenzo's Oil. What genre are these? I'm just curious. A biographical drama. So it's interesting because almost like most of his filmography to me is just like one for me, one for kids. Like it's kind of what it is. Like I'll make a Mad Max, I'll make a Babe 2, I'll make a Mad Max 2, I'll make a Happy Feet.
To be fair, this is a memory because it's been at least like 3 or 4 years. I actually remember I watched Mad Max. So I went into George Miller's filmography. I remember watching Mad Max and Babe, weirdly, a few years ago. And Babe 2 is not a kid's film. Well, it is, but shit's a fever dream. It's weird. Like it's like a dark, devastating, fancy tale almost. Like it's bizarre. It's one of those I really recommend. I remember enjoying it, but I've just not seen it in a long time, so I don't have to rate it or anything. I think it was just like a little like on it or whatever. But it is like, it's really dark. It's weird. I think it's quite distinct from the first Babe film, which admittedly I haven't watched for ages anyway.
Well, this alone already looks dark to me. That's still from the trailer.
It's weird. Like it genuinely is bizarre. Like it's I mean, it's not entirely comparable, but it's very some of the imagery in like 3,000 Years where it is, very extravagant and weird.
Maximalist and
it's a weird film, colorful, odd film, but good from memory. I want to watch it again because I've just never thought about turning Babe 2 on again, but maybe I should because I saw people watch it this week and like people are giving it like who I follow giving it high ratings, so maybe I need to watch it again.
Well, yeah, Owen gave it like the biggest seal of approval you can give, where he's like Babe 2 is low key like Paddington 2, the OG Paddington 2, but I don't know about that. We'll see. But Happy Feet 1 and 2, a lot of similar themes to like the Mad Max films in terms of like scarcity, conservation, humanity, and what they're doing to the world. But man, I don't know. Like, what's tough with the Happy Feet movies, especially Happy Feet 2, which I think is like slightly below Happy Feet 1 for me. But
I don't remember. I've seen Happy Feet 2, but I don't remember it.
Some of the imagery in it's crazy, and so there's some like brutal emotional moments in it. But what's tough for me about both Happy Feet movies, which I like more than most, I think, because they're very lowly average rated movies on Letterboxd. They're both in like the 2s, but for me, I give both of them a 3-star. Is for every minute like I think there's so much great moments. It's like there's like 2 minutes that are annoying. I don't like any of the musical bits whatsoever. I think that just like detracts it from the entire movie.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Again, it's been a couple of years since I watched Happy Feet, but there are moments I really like. It's so bizarre. It's like it's so in your face and ridiculous, but the musical moments are definitely the downer, I would say. But like it is similar thematically, absolutely. And I think it's one that's a good amount to take away from, especially considering it is a kids' film. I mean, more so Mad Max or whatever. But yeah, I do remember not enjoying the musical numbers quite as much as the rest of the film. Definitely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them because I just watched them yesterday, and a lot more than I remembered. Because obviously, like the big thing is he's an outcast because he all the penguins are singers, and he grows up and you find out he's a dancer. The Happy Feet, hence the name. But there's a lot like what George Miller I think is really good at is very creatively weaving in comedy to his movies. Like the Mad Max movies have comedy. It's not the most stereotypical comedy, but there's comedic elements added in. I think Happy Feet movies have that as well. Like obviously it's like kids movie comedy, but I mean beyond that, like the more witty comedy. There's like especially the end of Happy Feet 1, like when the humans they all like track him to where he is and find the whole penguin horde, and like immediately like the humans that find him are like, oh, we're ruining their fish supply. Let's shut it down. Let's no more fishing. Let's save all the penguins. Like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. It's just like so satirical to the way of where it's like when you see all these endangered penguins, there's like, oh yeah, we're gonna fix everything. No more fishing. We're gonna save them all. And it's like obviously in real life, people don't care about animals in that sort of way, which is just unfortunate. I mean, there's great conservation groups, but I mean, in terms of like governmental policy, I don't think they're ever gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll stop fishing in order to preserve these. It's like it takes massive movements in order to make this stuff happen. When the movie there's like, oh, look at all these cute penguins. Let's stop doing everything impossible to harm these people. But they're cute movies. They're silly movies. I
mean, again, not similar, but in terms of how he can weave comedy into like genuinely horrific themes most of the time, it's similar to like a Bong Joon-ho, for example, who is an expert at weaving his own wicked comedic style, like in Paris, like in Memories of Murder, and Snowpiercer sometimes. Yeah, it's very similar in that regard, where George Miller has this unique kind of dry flair to him. Happy Feet's crazy. The cast is great as well. I'm just looking at it now. It's like Elijah Wood, Robin Williams, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Hugo Weaving. The cast is crazy for Happy Feet. So yeah.
That reminded me of something I wanted to say that I would have totally forgot if you didn't bring up the cast. Is if you were a voice actor, would you want your voice to be distinct enough to where people would be like, that's you voicing it? Or would you rather be someone whose voice is so like not generic, but somewhere like when you listen to it, you don't immediately know it's you until like you like if you were put yourself in the shoes of an actor, would you want your voice to be like, oh, that's this person? Like Chris Pratt nowadays, everyone knows it's a Chris Pratt voiceover. Whereas
I mean, it depends on the character, I guess, because if it's like Mario, for Chris Pratt, or like Garfield, you kind of want it to be that people don't immediately recognize it's you, because then it's like you've done a good job. So maybe as a voice actor, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like you want to be associated with the character, especially if your face isn't there. You want to be associated. If you watched, I don't watch Shrek and immediately think Mike Myers. I think Shrek. You know what I mean? And that's the key. You don't want to be associated with who you are. You want to be associated with the character. So I think it's one of those where you want to be distinct within the character. You want people to be like, oh, that's Elijah Wood or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's more difficult that way. I think it's less of an achievement almost.
Well, like the reason I bring it up is because when I watch Happy Feet and like the main penguin, I forgot the name, but that's who Elijah Wood voices.
Yeah.
I thought it was Michael Cera. So I looked at the cast and it was not Michael Cera's Elijah Wood. But so much so to the point where I watched Happy Feet 2 immediately after. And I looked it up again because like, did they replace Elijah Wood this time with Michael Cera? Like every time I was watching Happy Feet, every time that penguin spoke, I was like, that's Michael Cera's voice. Elijah Wood gets a little dog because in my mind, I was like, I didn't give Elijah Wood any credit in my mind. I was like, Michael Cera's really killing this penguin. And then literally, like I said, like I watched Happy Feet 1 immediately into Happy Feet 2. And I looked at the cast again. I'm like, oh, it's been 5 years. I guess they replaced Elijah Wood with Michael Cera. I'm like, oh, shit.
No, he's still there.
Elijah Wood. But yeah, no, fun movies. But I think the one that we can talk about the most bulk is 3,000 Years of Longing, which it has been 2 years since I've seen it. I liked it. And I remember immediately, and I read my review to try and remind myself. I'm remembering this now. Is there's so much more. There's a really dense film, and there's a lot more I wanted to dive into with it in terms of trying to pick it apart. And it's like a film that really I think requires a rewatch in order to fully digest. But I didn't really feel like walking away from it wanting to like go back into that world right away and rewatch it. So yeah, I was kind of just in the middle on it. I think I initially gave it a 3.5. It looks like I've lowered it down to a 3. So I liked it. The visuals are crazy. And I think Tilda Swinton, we glazed Tilda Swinton all the time in this pod. She's incredible. But just cautionary tale about wishes. We kind of mentioned when we were talking about some of his other films. It's just like a completely maximalist, visually fantastical, mythological movie. Just with so much you can pull from it. And I think I enjoy so many of the moments of it. There's so many elements of it I really adore. But like the cohesive film coming together just didn't fully click for me. And like I said, it was a 3.5 when I watched it. And like I said in my review, I guess 2 years ago, that I think rewatching it, I would understand it a lot further and enjoy it more. But just from walking away from I think I saw this in theaters. I don't know. It's been 2 years. I think walking away from it, I was like, I need to rewatch this to fully get it. But I don't really know if I really want to rewatch it, or at least for a while. So I'd be interested to revisit it. It's been a while. But yeah, I know you really liked it. So what are your thoughts on 3,000 Years?
Yeah, so I've actually watched this twice, but I don't think I logged it. It's still been like a long time. So I watched this 8th of September. That was that one was out in cinema, I think. And I believe I watched it a few months later, and I liked it more actually. Yeah, I really like this. Admittedly, I haven't watched it in so it'd be like what, almost 18 months, around it, about 18 months actually. I think this is a really interesting film and a really interesting, like, again, maximalist fairy tale. Like the visuals in this are insane. Really insane. Obviously, Tilda Swinton, probably my favorite working actress. I think she just displays the, raw feeling of working and not and lacking a human connection. And that's where Idris Elba's character comes in, and they kind of build this world together and around them. And it's, it really showcases the importance of it. I think it's just truly like a lovely film, and also understanding, how she can gain connection, how she can fall in love, how she can get out of the predicaments that she's in. And I think it displays it in such an interesting, like, George Miller-esque way of having these just mental scenes, these kind of historic graphics and crazy CGI, and again, like, kind of that sarcastic, witty nature as well, like, so, Tilda Swinton especially in this film. And you've got Idris Elba just being this, when I don't know if you remember when he first comes into the film, when he first kind of enters her room, and he's like huge, and it's just the most ridiculous thing ever, and he kind of goes down. But I actually need to watch this because I think I'd like it even more so now. Weirdly enough, this is not similar in the slightest, but I think about this film the same way I'd think about, like, I don't know if you've seen it, I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Love that movie.
Yeah. So both of them I haven't seen in about 18 months actually. And I kind of think about it the same way, in that they have these really unique visual styles in order to display something, but not in a sense that I don't think they're similar films, but I think about it a similar way where they're really distinct in showcasing human connection and the importance of that, obviously in different ways, in terms of imagery, and they're very, like, it's very individualistic and it's very down to that director. And I think this is George Miller. It's a different film, and I think that's what I like about George Miller so much. It's not a Mad Max film. It's not a Happy Feet. It's somewhere kind of down the middle, I guess. But I really like it, and I think that I need to watch it again because it's been a while. I think it might actually. So I've got a 4-star right now. If memory serves me correctly, could even go higher, like a 4.5 this time, because I did really love it. But yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't go into it like too much anymore.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I gave it a 3.5 on first watch, moved it down to a 3, but that's just kind of the natural thing I feel like I've been doing with most movies lately, where like things are getting moved down if I'm not thinking about them a lot. But I need to rewatch because I'm positive I would like it more. How much more, I don't know, but I know the only way it can go is up, because I remember really liking so much of it, but just a lot of it. Like, this is a type of movie where I watch someone's like hour-long review afterwards, where he's just like digesting a lot of the themes and stuff. I feel like there's stuff I was missing, connections I was missing. Not really like in terms of like a psychological thriller where you're like, oh, make the connections for me. It's more like just like digesting the thematic elements of this movie, as opposed to what did I miss? But yeah, I think it's just a wild filmography in general from George Miller, just all over the place, and like in a complimentary way, in terms of just like what types of films he tackles. And they do have a lot of similar elements linking them, but it's just like the vessel he uses to tell those elements are so interesting. Like Babe 2 and Happy Feet movies and just jumping into the Twilight Zone universe and Mad Max movies. And it's just,
I think he's just a really cool guy, you know? Whenever I
very
was
cool dude.
with him, I'm like, he's just a really interesting guy to listen to. And like going back to what I said earlier, I think he's I think in terms of like, you know, Australians in film, he's such a pivotal part of the Australian movement. I think that's why he's so beloved. He's just such a cool guy to listen to. And I love the way he talks about film. I love the way he does film. I wish you could see more from him. I mean, admittedly, he's like 80 or 79 or whatever. I think, so he did, obviously, Mad Max Fury Road was 2015, and then I think 3,000 Years Long was 2022. But it's actually only been, 2 years or whatever. But I'd be really interested to see what he does next, because maybe we might not see Mad Max, depending on how this does. He'll always have something up his sleeve, which is different. Because you look down his filmography, it's so. I remember the first time I found out he directed like Mad Max Fury Road, and he was the Happy Feet director. I was like, what the fuck? It's so weird. But you think about it, it makes sense because it is similar. You know, there are similar themes in all of his films, just presented in just completely different ways. And I think that's what a great filmmaker does is not stick to just one lane. You know, he could just be, if George Miller was just an action guy, he would succeed. You know, he would, of course he would. But he just does different shit. And I really like that. Definitely.
Yeah, we can wrap up our George Miller talk there. One thing I forgot to mention about Happy Feet 2, though, is like the final scene of the movie, spoilers, I guess, for Happy Feet 2, is so there's like a fly, and Happy Feet 2 is when you get like the flying penguins, and that kind of like creates a divide between. There's like a divide between which like the two penguins, and they kind of like separate. And then the very end of the movie is when they come back together and reunite. But they all do it in like the form of like a happy song and dance to Under Pressure. And I was like, after just rewatching After Sun like 3 days ago, I was like, I can't, like, because they're all like happy, like reuniting. I'm like, dude, like this isn't hitting right now. This song's been ruined by After Sun. And now they're all like happy singing to it and like finally coming back together. I'm like, nope, doesn't work. It doesn't work. But in general, the music elements really never worked for me in the Happy Feet movies. But that one specifically, I was like, nope, sorry. After Sun has stolen that song forever. We'll get into some trailers. There's a lot of trailers. We're only going to like touch on heavily like two of them, or not super heavily, but in terms of talking about. But Long Legs, like we've gotten so many crazy teasers for so long about Long Legs. Now we got like the full trailer. They played the trailer also before Furiosa, and Riley was like, could hardly even look at the screen. Just crazy trailer. Starring Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage, directed and written by Osgood Perkins, releasing July 12th. Dude, this movie looks scary. Looks wild. Like we've still seen so little of Nick Cage, and I almost love how every marketing is like. I mean, maybe it just has to do with like the billing of him, like such a big name. But I kind of love how every teaser and every trailer is like very much Mike Monroe and Nick Cage, and I love how they just keep throwing Nick Cage in your face, but barely giving you any of him in these trailers or teasers. This movie looks insane. What do you think about Long Legs?
Yeah, it's neon. It's neon. Neon is the worst. It's even worse than A24, man. So I don't know when we'll be able to say it, but it looks cool. It looks cool.
What do you mean by the worst?
Like neon just takes ages for UK distribution. It's always neon. Like it's even worse than A24. It's terrible. It just takes such a long time. So I don't know when we'll be able to see this because there's no release date as of yet, anyway, for us. But it does look very cool. I think it looks really, really interesting. And I think that combination of Michael Monroe and Nick Cage is just fucking cool. In my head, I keep getting mixed up sometimes with Long Legs and Cuckoo, the Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens one.
I feel that too.
Very similar marketing and stuff, but I feel like this one. I mean, Cuckoo did premiere at, was it South by Southwest? I know a few people I know watched it. I don't think it gave like crazy traction anyway. But yeah, this looks really, really cool. I'm just, I don't think I'll be able to sit for a while anyway, which is, unfortunate.
I'm trying to see other movies that this guy has made before. So it's not Osgood Perkins, it's Oz Perkins, which might be short for that. I don't know. Osgood Perkins, I've looked up, that's a guy from like classic Hollywood, old school. Oz Perkins, it looks like he's an actor and director, which I didn't really know. So he's acted in Nope. He was in Legally Blonde. He's in Psycho 2, Star Trek in 2009. So he's an actor.
Oh, he directed The Black Coat's Daughter. I've heard about that, actually.
And Gretel and Hansel in 2020. But all of his movies are very lowly rated on IMDb, at least. But I mean, you can tell by the Long Legs trailer, this isn't going to be a very accessible horror film. I don't think it's going to be like a mass popular movie. But it looks really interesting to me. Didn't realize he was an actor and a bunch of other stuff too. And who is Finn Bachman in Nope? I need to see this. Like, was he like a guy I'm gonna remember from Nope? Or
I have no idea. I've only seen Nope once. Need to watch that actually as well.
yeah, I do need to rewatch it as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Might have been whatever. But yeah, that movie I think looks really good. It's going to terrify me. So we'll see if I dive into it immediately. But then we got Beetlejuice 2. So releasing September 6th. It's the original cast returning, plus, Jenna Ortega and Willem Dafoe joining the bunch.
Did we always know Willem Dafoe was in it until the trailer? Or was that a release?
I don't think I did until this trailer.
No, I don't think I did.
And I feel like maybe that makes sense by the way they revealed it, because they did like and Jenna Ortega, and then after they did and Willem Dafoe. So maybe it's a bit of a reveal. But what do you think? I know you're a Tim Burton hater, so
I don't care. Like I don't know, man. I just lost all faith in anything Burton. I don't think he makes good films. I just don't anymore. I like the original Beetlejuice, so I'll watch this, and I think it's called The Original Cast is Returning. But how much does Michael Keaton care to play Beetlejuice anymore is the issue. I mean, not to be entirely negative, I just don't think it's going to be very good. But I'll hold out some hope. I'll watch it, but I've not got high hopes for it anyway.
I have no interest in the Beetlejuice movies. I think Owen tweeted saying like Winona Ryder is like, has like, so like, I don't know what wording it is. Something about like egregiously bad in the trailer. I was like, yeah, I could see that. She wasn't great.
Have you seen the original Beetlejuice?
So long ago that I couldn't remember anything. Like it was like probably like on like ABC Family growing up as a kid. So I have like no attachment to the franchise. I will admit, like in terms of like the trailer, I thought it was like a solidly put together trailer to where if I cared about Beetlejuice 1, I'd probably be excited for Beetlejuice 2. Because I think the trailer looked interesting. It has some visual flair to it, which Tim Burton is hit or miss on. But yeah, I don't know. I just have no excitement for this movie. But I know it seems like it's a big deal to a lot of people. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's a huge deal to a lot of people, definitely.
And then we got a bunch of trailers that we didn't, for stuff we don't really care about. The Bear season 3. I mean, who even really likes that show? Trash show. But obviously George is probably very excited. I've seen like 6 episodes of season 1 of The Bear. Just didn't hook me. Don't think I'm ever going to go back to it. But TV is hard to hook me in general nowadays. I just need slop reality show. That's all I'm going to watch. Harold and the Purple Crayon got a full trailer. I didn't even click play on that. Beverly Hills Cop 4 got a trailer. Didn't even click play on that. And then Jake Gyllenhaal in the Apple TV Plus show Presumed Innocent. The second I saw it was a TV show. Didn't even click play on that. And it's not that I'm a
TV is so much shit as well all the time.
It's not that I'm a TV hater. I kind of
just know you won't watch it. That's I don't want to watch it. I save space for 2 or max 3 TV shows a year. Right, and one of them I've done. Fallout was one. Then I'll do House of the Dragon. And then I might finish Twin Peaks. That's about it. I can't do any more. It's time and I want to say people like want to watch TV, like they're good, whatever. And I used to watch more TV than film when I was younger. But it's not the fact they're not good. It's just I'd rather watch films. TV is such a commitment. That's the problem.
I think that's why I'm so drawn to shows like Outer Banks, because like the TV, I like to watch like reality shows, stupid, silly reality shows, and then like Outer Banks falls into that where it's like it's nothing that I have to invest in like when I watch a movie, I want to be like focused, invested. Caring about what I'm watching. TV, I more just want something to throw on and just like have it on, like where I can pay like 70% attention and whatever. It's more just like what most people look for in like a popcorn movie. It's like me for TV, it's just throw popcorn in, like just chill. So yeah, just present like, and I think that's a pretty common sentiment by people who love film in general, because think of like The Sympathizer on HBO. Can you imagine like a Park Chan-wook produced, who directed a couple episodes as well, starring Robert Downey Jr. fresh off an Oscar win, and that movie gets like 2 whispers over the past like 3 months on Twitter. Like no one's talking about that.
Yeah, it's weird that, because I thought, Park Chan-wook, he's a name in the film space, but maybe not so much generally. But Robert Downey Jr. coming off an Oscar win, I have not heard anything about The Sympathizer like at all. I saw like 2 tweets when it came out, and that's it. Which is weird. It's really
crazy.
Weird.
And I think it's just because we obviously have a better pulse on like the theater going experience of movies and the bleakness of that. And I'm sure there's something similar in the TV world right now where IP based stuff is so it's taken over all these other original stuff. Because I know like HBO Sundays used to be a huge thing. Like I think HBO is just looking for that next hit, because True Detective came back with a new season. Boy, did that thing flop again. 1 or 2. My power just cut out. That they didn't want me to tell the truth about True Detective Night Country. They didn't. The powers that be were trying to shut me down, so I couldn't talk more about it. But yeah, so that show flopped too. Like HBO is just struggling to find something to click. House of the Dragon's coming back. That'll do well, of course.
Yeah,
but really, since Succession was the only thing to catch since Game of Thrones like ended. other than House of the Dragon. But I mean, that's Game of Thrones universe. How much can you count that?
Really? There's not anything else.
Well, Euphoria does really well, but they crank out a season per 5 years. So it's like they're lacking something like consistent.
I mean, The Last of Us did well.
Last of Us did well, but again, that's like, I mean, we've played the games or know the games. Like, how much longer is that going to continue? White Lotus does well too.
Oh, Westworld did really, really good, apparently. Well, actually, no, I think that was the same thing, according to people. That was like where it started amazing and then really fell off in the late season. So it was similar to like Game of Thrones, for example. So maybe you're right, actually.
I just feel like not back in the day, but like 10 years ago, HBO had like just such a great rotation of like, Game of Thrones is off. Like it had no more episodes like until next year or whatever, but they had like shows that filled it in well. Whereas like HBO kind of was always just hitting. Whereas now it just seems like we still have HBO shows that are hitting, but there's a lot of months that are just bleak in between.
Yeah, I get it.
But they're looking for something to hit for sure. So a lot of trailers that we didn't care about this week, but Cannes Film Festival, we're going to go over the winners. So we've been kind of talking about some of the movies that premiered. I think it's kind of crazy just from the critics I follow and some people that went. Sounds like Cannes this year had the craziest lineup of directors. Like we had, the Cronenbergs of the world, Francis Ford Coppola coming out with Megalopolis. We had Furiosa not in competition, but premiering there. We had George Lucas was honored there. There was Paul Schrader,
John Baker,
of course, who ended up winning.
Andrew Arnold, who did Bird.
I don't have the full list in front, but I feel like there was like
there was loads.
Multiple other directors.
Yeah, there's loads.
And whatever, but no need for us to keep naming off names, but there's so many big names, a lot more than normally Cannes is like, a director or two that are and I feel like ultimately it just didn't seem like it hit. Like I feel like a lot of the movies got very lukewarm receptions.
Very polarizing.
Nothing really caught fire, it seemed like. Like even the winner who won the Palme d'Or, Honora, got pretty great reviews. But that and like Andrea Arnold's Bird were like the only two that I saw like get pretty universally praised, and everything else seemed pretty scattered.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Megalopolis got a lot of reactions, because it's such a huge thing. And if anything, I'm more excited just because it's polarizing and all that shit. But yeah, the only two I saw, I mean, Bird still got a few okay. Like Honora is the top dog in terms of positive reactions. That's what I've seen most of. And that's really the clear one. Like you look at the Shrouds, you look at Megalopolis, you look at Substance, you look at Paul Schrader's new film, I can't remember the name of that. Canada. Very graphs heavily, not going either way, kind of split across the board. Really, really interesting. So yeah, it's been a weird Cannes, definitely. Really weird.
Very weird. There's a lot of hype coming into it. Still a lot of projects we're very excited for, but Honora won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Obviously, everyone talked about it. It marks Neon's 5th win in a row.
Neon.
So clearly, they have a good eye for acquiring things, which Seth hates because that means they're all going to come out so much later.
The last 5 films as well. What was it? So it was Titan, not in order. Titan, Triangle of Sadness, Parasite, Honora. What was the last one? What was the other one?
All right, we got this. Come on. Anatomy of Fall.
Anatomy of Fall. Okay, I haven't seen Anatomy of Fall. Don't know why. But the other 4, even Triangle of Sadness, which I know Twitter doesn't love it. I really like it. Really, really great films, So I'm really, really excited for that. But yeah, I just know I won't be able to see it for a while, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this was kind of the obvious one, I think. Seeing the reactions and stuff, especially critically. This was like going to win, wasn't it?
I saw such a funny meme tweet of it. It was like the Kevin Hart meme, and it was like, "This is Neon, bitch. We stunt in this place. Take your sensitive ass back to A24." Like it was a quote in like the Neon winning 5 awards in a row. But yeah,
it's kind
of. And then obviously a lot of jokes like A24 doing the whole like what even movie was that meme from? Where it's like you're watching someone else win and you're like plotting on their downfall.
Plotting on their downfall, yeah.
Because Neon's just very successful, and I know like a lot of people are commenting like obviously we want to praise Sean Baker. I've only seen one of his films. I've only seen the Florida Project.
I haven't seen any of them, which is really bad.
Yeah, I gotta get on that.
Especially on Florida Project. I love.
Yeah, Tangerine's gonna be the next one I watch for sure. So shout out Sean Baker for winning Palme d'Or for Honora. Shout out Mikey Madison. It really seems like this is gonna be her breakout moment. Like obviously she's been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's been in a Scream movie, but this sounds like this like could get her Best Actress buzz. And really kind of push her to that next
young as well. Like she's like mid-20s, isn't she? So she's like, for some reason I thought she'd been like around longer, but yeah, obviously she only did that Scream film. I don't know if I've seen her in much else.
I think I've only seen her in Scream and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, of course, because there was the whole video you did about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, stuff like
Mhm.
that. I'm trying to think
Which
if I've seen anything else.
Yeah, but that's just kind of further emphasizes why this is such a great project for her, and I hope like this is going to be a good pivotal point because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and her Scream character pretty similar, very much just like
Yeah.
screaming, stabbing. So she
Oh, she was
easily
in the
could have
Addams
been.
Family, the animated
Oh
stuff.
God, well yeah, anime, but she so easily could have been typecast as just horror, scream, killer type person because like that's what she was in her two biggest
Yeah,
movies.
yeah,
So now
definitely.
this is going to be a huge turning point for her career, which is awesome for her. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Neon, of course, they've been able to pick up the last 5 movies that won the Palme d'Or. So seems like they're very invested in Cannes and seem to know how to pick some winners out of there. And like Seth mentioned, if Anora follows suit with the other 4 we've seen before, probably going to be another banger because I love all 4 of the other movies. I haven't seen. Well, you haven't seen the Miami Fall. I haven't seen Titan, but I really need to see Titan. But all the ones we have both seen with Triangle of Sadness, we're both on the loving side of history on that as opposed to people who dislike it. And Parasite, I mean, what really needs to be said about Parasite? Great winners. And then some of the other films that won, which kind of further emphasizes the fact that like a lot of the heavy hitters, like these.
Oh, we
big
didn't say
names,
Yorgos.
Oh yeah, Yorgos,
Yeah. I keep
yeah.
forgetting Kinds of Kindness exists, though.
Mhm.
I just keep forgetting about it.
Which that did win an award. Jesse Plemons won Best Actor for that, which is
Yeah.
awesome to see. Speaking of actors, we want to see kind of take that next step. Jesse Plemons could kind of take that step away from supporting guy to maybe this starts to kind of give him. I mean, he looks like he's more support in this movie, maybe one of the few leads, but would love to see him take like a David Dastmalchian and I Saw the Devil type leap where it's like give him a shot at like leading the film and see what can happen. But the Grand Prix winner was All We Imagine as Light. Amelia Perez won the jury prize. Special prize went to The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Crazy story behind how that movie got made. Fun to look up. I don't have it memorized, but I was reading up on it the other day. So The Seed of the Sacred Fig, look up how kind of why that won special prize from the Cannes jury. The Substance won Best Screenplay, which like we mentioned was one of the more polarizing ones, which has that crazy poster and the trailer. There wasn't really a trailer, it was more like a teaser. Looks super interesting. So I'm really excited for that one. And that one Best
She did
Screenplay.
a film that I've had on my watch list like honestly such a long time. I've just never watched it. It was it's called Revenge from 2017, and that was very much like similar reactions to this in terms of some people loved it and some people were genuinely like offended by it. But I think Substance has been predominantly loved, if I'm not mistaken. That was one of the higher ones, definitely out of the festival, I think.
More so than The Shrouds for sure, but
Yeah. I mean, the Shrouds. I think the Shrouds actually like the low. I think the Shrouds actually are pretty low, and I think a lot of modern Cronenberg, probably outside of Crimes of the Future, was probably actually quite well received. Has been pretty like mediocre across the board in terms of critical reception stuff like that.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm a huge Crone head, so I'm seeing it regardless of what the ratings are. Best first feature, The Camera Door went to Armand. Best director went to Miguel Gomez for Grand Tour. We mentioned Jesse Plemons won Best Actor for Kinds of Kindness. Best Actress, Fraud Award, gave it to the ensemble of Amelia Perez. So the Best Actress Award went to Carla Sofia Gascon, Zoe Saldana, Selena Gomez, and Adriana Paz.
What?
4 actresses winning Best Actress?
That's
gonna call it a little bit of a
crazy.
cupcake award. Gonna call it a little bit, which it's funny because Jesse Plemons' Kinds of Kindness is in a shit. What's the term? I'm blanking on everything.
Anthology.
Yeah. So Jesse Plemons on the opposite, one guy playing 3 roles.
Three different roles. Yeah.
And I believe, then these are 4 women. Like Jesse Plemons, kind of a sigma for that award, getting 3 different roles for his one act. He only gets 1 award, whereas 4 different. What are you doing? You got to give it to one. You got to make the tough decisions. Greta Gerwig.
Something about the fact that this anthology excites me. I think anthologies are always a risky play, and that's why you don't see it often from filmmakers, especially at modern anthologies. They don't come about often. I think it's a big leap for Yorgos to take, and I'm really excited for it now. The more I think about it.
Have you been seeing some of the reactions of people saying like that Poor Things is like a PG rated movie compared to Kinds of Kindness, and that like if you thought Poor Things was a lot, that you shouldn't even step foot in the theater for like, dude, this movie's really crazy.
Who it was? It might have been Joe, who was like reviewers like back to form. It says like it was like I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen Dogtooth? Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it makes sense. I think I haven't seen. This is really bad for me. I haven't seen The Favorite or The Lobster. But I understand what the meaning is back to form in terms of kind of return to that roots. And if it's like similar, contextually to like dog stuff like that, it's going to be kind of fucking wild. And it does excite me that it's anthology. I find them really interesting. I think they're really hard to pull off though, because there can be such drastic differences in quality between one story to the next. It's just like such a big swing. But I like that because Yorgos is in a position where like he's a fucking big name director now. He's done like 4 films in a row that have received really, really high acclaim. And I think that he doesn't need to do something like this. And I think he could, but it's a big swing that I really, really like. And I think, is it like 3 hours? Maybe around about?
Yep.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. When's it coming out again? It's like soon, isn't it?
No, like July. Yeah, July.
That's crazy to me because it feels like Poor Things was like yesterday. I mean, it was closer for me. I think I saw it at the start of January.
But still, it came out like December, I think, in the States.
In the US,
yeah, and because I think that what it was is like he like sat on that for a few years, then released it, so he was kind of already done mostly with Kinds of Kindness. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have this in the rundown, but I don't know if it was the second to next or the third to next. Like there was another Emma Stone, Yorgos Lanthimos, like Jesse Plemons project, like confirmed to be in the works. I don't even think that's the next one. I think it's like we already knew the next Emma Stone Yorgos movie is coming. And I think we might have already known another one after that. And I think this might have been like the third bit of news of like the third next one coming. Like
I get confused between like Yorgos's announcements and Luca's announcements.
And Luca, yeah.
Because they just have so many like rumored projects all the time. It feels like I'm just like, what? Which is true and which isn't? Do you know what I mean? But it's only had 15 million budget. It's actually lower than I expected. I'm just looking at it now.
I feel like at this point for Emma Stone's career, you're gonna have to give her an Oscar-worthy script for her to like take time away from a Yorgos film. Like they're so lockstep together at this point. But those are the also American or Horizon and American Saga got mostly positive and mixed-ish reviews. Like in terms of like then I saw like Cinema Joe didn't like it, and then Doug replied, he's like, no, you have to like Westerns it because the Westerns are dying. We have to support it. The trailer for that played before Furiosa, and a classic. So like I mentioned all the time, but like Arizona and this area is very much a retirement community. So most people that go to the movies here are older, and obviously Kevin Costner is huge from Yellowstone, and Yellowstone's a very big.
Anna recently watched. She like loved it.
Anna's in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Did you say Anna's in Yellowstone or
into Yellowstone?
Oh no, she's not in it.
No, into.
No, yeah, she watched it recently and she said she really, really liked it. Yeah. Which is weird to me because I wasn't expecting it to, because it's like
I think the target market's definitely older.
It really is. Yeah, I agree. And Kevin Costner does have that kind of really loyal older, fan base, like very, very much so. And this is so if you don't know, this is like it's 3 films that are each going to be like 3 hours long. Or is it 4 films? I think it's 3 films.
I only knew the first 2 for sure. The chapter 1, chapter 2 coming this summer.
It's definitely 3. I'm sure it is. And they're all
like 3.5 hours.
So it's a big step. And I think that Joe mentioned in his review that it felt like a TV show. It has that kind of feel, and that it's a post Yellowstone. So it's gonna be a difficult one to pull off.
Because his ending with Yellowstone wasn't a gracious one. Like him and the writers and director like butted and he kind of like left. So I almost wonder, like, do you think he wanted to just make his own TV show, but no network would pick it up? So he's like, fuck, I got to make a movie now. Yeah,
because like it's a big switch. This is 3 parts of 3+ hours. That's a huge deal. You know what I mean?
And it basically like ended his marriage too, making this. So like this is like a huge swing for him to take on this
within a genre that hasn't really been around much recently. I mean, what westerns have had high commercial success within maybe the last 20 years?
Like Django, is it? And that's
Django. Maybe I don't think Hateful Eight did that well. If I'm correct. I mean, No Control Man isn't really a western. Bone Tomahawk, I don't think did that well. Might have done, but it's a. I mean, like Doug said, it's not really a genre that's active, compared to the 40s to 60s, per se.
And especially with Kevin Costner in it too. Like everyone's going to directly compare it to Yellowstone too. So that's like another bold play, because people are going to make comparisons.
Stars and directs, people just think Yellowstone. So Yellowstone's really recent as well, isn't it? I think it's
a big risk for him, and that's what I was kind of getting to with my theater going. Like basically, like like the trailer ends, and then the next trailer starts like the green screen, like the green little. So there's a moment of silence, and like this one dude pipes up. He's like, so this is the reason we're not getting him in any more Yellowstone. And then like a bunch of other old people were like, ha ha ha, like laughing, like such a joke for older people. Like I was happy they had that little moment together.
Yeah.
But it seems like, but I think that further plays into the point that people freaking love Yellowstone. So there's a lot of
They
gamble
do,
in
yeah.
trying to do
I
this.
actually didn't really know what it was doing. I mean, I'm not in the CVs for it, but
Mhm.
like to say that Anna loved it, it would surprise me. You know what I mean? It's not really something I'd imagine, like a Western crime
Mhm.
drama or whatever.
I don't know if
it is.
there's ever been a TV show in history that's led to more spinoffs, because I think they have like 3, maybe 4 spinoff series.
No, I think Walking Dead has a few. Like Walking Dead, I'm sure has a few. I've seen
Okay.
like
But
loads.
it's up there for sure, because I don't even know.
Yeah,
There's like 1887 or something. There's
Yeah, it has a few. There's like many.
There's one in the works with like Matthew McConaughey or something, right? Like there's so many different stuff going on in the Yellowstone universe that just prints out money. So we'll see if it works out for Kevin Costner. But going on to movie news, The Last of Us premiere date, season 2 is going to premiere first half of 2025. So we're probably less than a year from seeing the beginning of that. Seth and I know the game, so we know it'll be
Everyone
fun.
knows.
That'll be fun.
Everyone knows.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it, but I think
we're not
everyone
going to say it, but everyone knows. So it's going to be very fun to see it play out, because everyone online knows. I don't know people who like people at home. So that's why like that's going to be crazy when that happens. But Knives Out 3 is also official, titled Wake Up Dead Man, releasing in 2025 on Netflix. And they're just supposed to start production. So I'd imagine they already have a cast at this point. They're going to be starting production. But
it's the Muppets.
The
Muppets are the guy. Bro, that would be so good, man. We need some stupid shit, you know?
You're a big Muppets guy, man.
No, I'm a big Muppets Christmas Carol guy, specifically. I don't know. I think I've seen so many fan casts for Knives Out 3.
Mm-hmm. Pick 2 people right now, top of your head. 2 people you want to see.
I did a video on this.
Do you remember who was in it?
David Lynch. David Lynch was in it.
I mean,
who did I say now? It was like it was David Lynch, and it was. Didn't you do a video as well?
Yeah, I just did one because I didn't do one initially.
Did you do one as well?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to get it up. It was. Wait, we on Knives Out 3 is Knives Out 2? Oh no, yeah, because
Glass Onion.
Honestly, I always Glass Onion is not a film that lives well in my head. You know what I mean? I just don't never think about. I think about Knives Out. I just don't think about that.
Mm-hmm. I was great. Glass Onion was definitely a disappointment.
I would say right now, David Lynch. He could be like a weird old like artist guy, you know, in like a corner of the room. He's just a bit of a freak. And then like Tobey Maguire, maybe.
That'd be fun.
Or like fun. I want to give a guy any go. I think that'd be better. So I'll say David Lynch. You say yours. I'm gonna pick you.
Okay, so mine. So I was kind of going based off like similar to which I hope we get a fresher plot. But basically when I was going for the cast, I was like trying to fit in the lines of what we saw in the first 2 movies. So I have Aaron Taylor Johnson as kind of like a billionaire's son who's kind of like an arrogant asshole. Then I have his father, the billionaire, being Ray Fiennes, because like I just think his character in a bigger splash. I want to see that character reprise. So he's kind of the one pulling the strings of Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's the big billionaire puppet master. And then I have Barry Keoghan as kind of like the guy who can be, he's always up to something. You never trust a Barry Keoghan character. Yeah. Then I have Haley Steinfeld. We need to get her in some more live action stuff. She's only been doing animated stuff recently. So she can kind of be, not the main woman. I'll get onto that next. Justice Smith, then I feel like he always plays a character who's
that's
quiet.
A great one. Yeah, just
quiet, but like put stuff together, kind of like putting the pieces together, but quietly understanding things. And then I have Kaylee Spaney being like the Ana de Armas type character. That's like the one we mainly follow of her trying to uncover the mystery of what's going on.
I really like Justice. I think that's a really good one. Like Chris Pine, all the Dungeons and Dragons, maybe. Well, actually, I'm gonna say Dakota Fanning. Dakota
Fanning. Hell yeah, the resurgence is coming with the Watchers.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Dakota Fanning or Elle, one of the two, and David Lynch, and then Justice Smith as well. One of those. I think that'd be good.
That's a very fun casting.
I didn't love the last one, the last casting. The Glass Onion one compared to the first one, the Knives Out. So
for sure,
I like this one a bit better anyway.
Yeah, the Fanning sisters are fascinating because it's almost like it's almost like the Olsen siblings a little bit, where like the Mary-Kate and Ashley were so famous, and then just kind of like became like billionaires, and just kind of faded off, and they're not really in the public sphere anymore. Whereas Elizabeth Olsen's obviously massively in it with Wanda. And then Dakota Fanning was the child star. She was in like War of the Worlds. She was in a ton of stuff when she was younger.
With Denzel.
And then she kind of stopped working. And then Elle Fanning became And Elle Fanning works with a lot of like, cool ass directors.
She worked
too.
with like Nicholas Refn a couple of years ago on the Neon Demon, I think it's called.
Mhm.
Like, she worked with some really interesting.
Which I didn't know anything, because I became a fan of him through watching the Ryan Gosling films, the two that they did together, and that's like the third longest standing ovation in Cannes Film Festival history was for the Neon Demon. It was like 20
I
minutes.
actually didn't really like it. I watched it fairly recently, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting film.
You
Like,
don't like it or do like it?
I didn't like it that much. I think I give it like a 2.5.
Yeah,
I need to rewatch it though. It's an interesting film, definitely for sure. Oh, Kristen Stewart! I remember I had her in my video. I love Kristen Stewart. She'd be like, as like someone's like weird sister or like auntie. Do you know what I mean? It's just a freak. She'd be great.
That's perfect. Perfect cast. Yeah. But yeah, it's you have to find you have to weave a fine line for these Knives Out casting, because it's like actors and actresses you like kind of know, but like they're not usually like the big hitters that have like one or two big movies coming out every year.
I've seen some podcasts and they're like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix, Emily Blunt and shit. Yeah, it's like, A, that would be weird because you know them so much, and B, how much fucking budget do you think these films have?
Right.
Like, it's not. I think the last one had like 100, didn't it? And then a lot of that obviously went into the scope of it as well. But there is, I think that would be terrible just to get a bunch of like Oscar winners,
Right.
It's weird, wouldn't it?
No, like the way you have to go about a Knives Out fan cast is like every single person in the cast, you have to be like, I've seen you in like one or two things. Maybe don't know your name, but I've seen you.
Have a couple of big people in though.
Yep, a couple of big people, but there can't be a single person where you're like, I've never seen you before. It's always someone you're like, oh yeah, you've been in that, but like a couple big.
Knives Out did that so perfect because it had like the big hitters like a Daniel Craig, a Toni Collette, and Ana de Armas, and then it had like the guys who you've been in a couple of those stuff, but not like household names yet. Like Lakeith Stansfield was really really good. Like capitalizing on 13 Reasons Why. I can't remember the actress's name. Yeah. They had like obviously like Chris Evans, who's like Marvel, whatever, and they had some like other people as well. I think they did it really really well in Knives Out. Perfect, definitely.
Yeah, and Glass Onion was a little bit of a miss, but should be fun. They're one of those movies like where even though Glass Onion I didn't like that much, like I'm always gonna be excited for Knives Out, and I think that's just simply because I love whodunits. Like even though and it's weird because I'm a huge fan of whodunits, but I think like 80% of them I've seen are kind of shit, but I always like them,
I love horror and I hate most horror films.
Yeah, that's a good comparison for you. Yeah, a lot of people's fandom of horror because like I know most whodunits I watch it can kind of suck, but like I want to go on the ride.
We don't get many anymore, other than like Kenneth Branagh. Like,
there's gonna be a Clue remake. I can't remember who was making it, but I feel like we talked about that a couple weeks ago. But I feel like it was someone notable making it too. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that they're making one. But Clue remake movies, see if anything comes up. Okay, well, positive. All I see right off the bat is a version with Ryan Reynolds starring as the lead is no longer in the works. So. We're all kind of Ryan Reynolds is out. I don't need him in a Clue movie.
No, we're not. It's only us two are Ryan Reynolds out. George and Tyler like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm Ryan Reynolds is out, I guess, but we'll see. Deadpool 3 is gonna do very well at the box office, which it's one of those things. It's like a necessary evil. Like I'm not that excited. I'm excited, but I'm not like as excited as Cam and George.
It's gonna.
But like, at this point, we need it to. We need it to to do that well.
There's no doubt in my mind. This makes at least 1.5 billion. I think this is
1.5. Because I would say 1 billion is a little bit of like an easier.
No, I'm saying no. 1.5. This is going to reach that kind of top 10, I think, ish level, at least top 10.
Like top this is your Way of Water call. Avatar Way of Water.
When I was in the cinema the other day, there was grown men just like howling at jokes and stuff. It's like, okay, and it's the only MCU film. So much marketing, about 10 trailers. Bringing back Logan, Wolverine, whatever, first Deadpool film in a while, R-rated. It's gonna make money. I mean, R-rated could hold it back a little bit, but I have an absolute feeling it will be the number one R-rated film over Joker. Absolutely. I think Joker made like under 1.1. I think it'll make much more than that. I really do. Definitely.
Bold prediction. You've heard it here first. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, we'll find out in like 4-ish months probably by the time like the box office is officially done. Or well, no, probably like maybe even longer than that because it'll be in theaters for probably the whole summer.
They're doing midnight screenings. Are they doing in the US too? I assume they are.
I have not looked at tickets to be honest, but I'm sure probably.
And they're all sold out here. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie theaters need it, and hopefully they play 60 minutes of trailers before it to show everything coming out. To
show like.
Get more butts and seats.
Nora and shit. Like,
just
Shrouds.
Go see it.
I mean, they can because it's R-rated, so they could actually show them.
Yeah, they could.
That'd be great.
But yeah, I don't even know how he got on Deadpool there, but the Hollywood Reporter released a top 10 list of new A-list movie stars of Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to go through these one by one. Well, I'm going to read them all off, and then not a game, but we're going to do a little something after just to see where you stack rank them a bit. We're not going to do a ranking, but you'll see. But the 10 new ones, or the 10 new A-list movie stars: Zendaya, Glenn Powell, Jacob Elordi, Paul Mescal, Austin Butler, Jenna Ortega, Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy, Sydney Sweeney, and Timothée Chalamet. So before I ask you about each one individually, just like first reaction to that list. I feel like I saw a lot of people that were seeing this list and being like, you think what?
It's just, I think it's just very safe. It's like, it's safe, but it's
but like an A-lister has to be safe. It has to be someone.
No, I agree. It's just
like I said, people saying these are boring picks, but it's like if you're an A-lister, you have to be a boring pick because you have to be a pick everyone knows.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think it's just the picks. I think everyone would say, isn't it? I don't think there's anything like outlandish there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go on.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. So we're just gonna kind of work our way down the list. So Zendaya or Glenn Powell, who's the bigger movie star? And it's gonna be like
now.
Yeah, between the two.
Zendaya, absolutely.
Okay, so Zendaya moves on. Zendaya or Jacob Elordi, who's the bigger between them?
Zendaya
or Paul Mescal?
Zendaya.
Which I agree with everything you said so far. Paul Mescal, I think, is such an outlier because we both love him. He's easily the least of a movie star on this list.
Yeah,
no one knows who the hell he is. And he's been in nothing that's made
outside the film space. Film space love him.
No, right. But I don't even think he's been in a single movie that's made over like $10 million.
No, that's crazy. He's like
Gladiator 2 might help him, but
he's a list where it's like the best actors, around 20 to 30, under 30, because he's so fucking good. But he's not a star, it's different. Definitely.
Okay. Zendaya or Austin Butler?
Ooh. Oh, Zendaya.
I would say so too, but that's definitely the closest one so far.
Yeah, Zendaya.
Austin Butler, he's been supporting in like Dune, but I feel like he's barely in Dune Part 2, but like kind of gets talked about the most.
Yeah, and Elvis didn't do that well. I think Dune 2 has probably raised his stock massively. That kind of.
But still, like a performance like Elvis, and he got like a Golden Globe for it, nominated for an Oscar. Like definitely put him up in that atmosphere, to where people are going to be excited for what he does next. Zendaya or Jenna Ortega?
Zendaya. Yeah, Zendaya, but that is kind of weirdly difficult in a way.
I feel like Jenna Ortega is more of like a TV star.
Yeah, TV. Yeah, it's Zendaya.
But and like her big movie, she's in the two Screams, but like how much of that is Jenna? How much of that is Scream? Like people are going to see Scream regardless. Not anymore, but I mean, the Scream 6 when they were coming out. Zendaya or Florence Pugh? Interesting one.
I have no idea. I'm gonna say Zendaya again. Currently.
I am too. Like Florence. Has there ever been a Florence Pugh movie other than maybe Midsommar where people go see it because people saw Midsommar because of horror, but
Don't Read Dolly. People went to see it.
True.
But then again,
but like Oppenheimer, Dune Part 2, like you're not going because Florence Pugh's there.
I think Zendaya. I'm picking Zendaya though. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I am too. But I forgot about Don't Worry Darling. Don't Worry Darling definitely makes it closer because that was a huge zeitgeist, and obviously Harry Styles was a huge portion of that. But Florence Pugh was like the girl in that. Yeah. And then beyond that, because like being a movie star doesn't just mean you're in great movies. It means like you have the whole Hollywood persona as well, and like that whole like Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh feud leading up to that with the production like helps elevate the status of Florence Pugh, where people know her more in the mainstream. Zendaya or Anya Taylor-Joy?
Zendaya, actually.
I would too. Anya Taylor-Joy is getting there. If Furiosa does really well, I think
Anya Taylor-Joy is an actress, But...
Oh, for sure. We're talking about movie stardom, but Anya Taylor-Joy is incredible. But the thing is with Furiosa, even if it does super well, like her performance, it just isn't really like one where you watch and you're like, that's the next movie star. Because this isn't spoilers because everyone already knows she only has like 30 lines. Not in the movie as much as people thought. Like it's not really going to be like I don't know. I still think she's not going to be quite at the level of Zendaya after this because
who knows?
Challengers.
Maybe Dune, the next Dune film, wherever that's going to
be. True. Anya Taylor-Joy is going to get there. She's taken over because like Queen's Gambit was huge too, and that really put her on the map. I feel like in terms of like most people knowing her. But the thing about Zendaya, I feel like the best anecdote for how big of a star Zendaya is the fact that so many people were like complaining that she was barely in Dune Part 1, and I feel like if you're not a big star, people aren't going to be complaining that you're not going to be in a movie much. Like everyone, so many people came out of there like, well, why was Zendaya barely in it? Like she has the power to where people are going to see a movie and be disappointed when they don't get enough of her.
So, and obviously we saw in Dune Part 2 that she's great when she gives a lot more runtime. Zendaya or Sydney Sweeney?
Zendaya.
Yep, me too. And then the last one, final one, Zendaya or Timothy Chalamet?
Timothy Chalamet.
I agree. I think of this list of 10, which I agree with exactly perfectly. I have Zendaya as number 2 and then Timothy is number 1. I think Timothy is like more of a star than like all of the other 9 like combined though. Like
I think like Wonka
made like 800 million. Like I don't know.
Wonka was a massive Wonka for like the younger audiences and Dune just have been, because obviously the great thing about Timothy Chalamet is he picks interesting projects. He does like the Lucas, Bones and all. He just call by your name, whatever. But he the Dune playing with Paul Atreides and fucking Willy Wonka. You're not beating that right now in terms of star name. They're two of the biggest characters, some of the biggest characters ever. So it's always going to happen, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yep. Timothy's just kind of that guy.
Yeah.
And there's some other quick news. Ayo Edebiri has been cast in Luca Guadagnino's The Hunt alongside Andrew Garfield and Julia Roberts. Great cast so far. Film follows college professor who finds herself at a crossroads when a pupil levels an accusation against one of her colleagues. Is this a remake of the Mads Mikkelsen The Hunt of Thomas Vinterberg, or is it not? Because
what does that say? Wait, read this synopsis again.
A college professor finds herself at a crossroads when a pupil levels an accusation against one of her colleagues.
I mean, it sounds exactly the same, other than The Hunt is at like a preschool or like a nursery or whatever.
Yeah, and if it's following a professor who like the accusations are against one of her colleagues, The Hunt follows like Mads Mikkelsen, the accusations against him. It's a weird synopsis because like it sounds like it could be, but it also sounds like it could be different. I
mean, I guess it's a plot point that I think has been done. It's the whole thing about perception and lies and whatever accusations. So I think it's something that's been done many times. But the education.
I guess I think it is a remake of Thomas, which I don't quote me on that because it just sounds like it could be.
Yeah, carry on.
I feel like we would have known that a lot more, but maybe not.
Yeah, because there would have been an uproar. There would have been like an outrage about that from me. It
might be one of those things that the fact that it's called The Hunt makes our brains triggered for Thomas Vinterberg's The Hunt, so then we're like looking for things in the synopsis to make us connect it more. Or maybe it's not. Have you found anything, or if you find anything, let me know.
I can't say anything on that.
Yeah, so I don't think so. But we also got our first look at Dwayne Johnson in his A24 film, The Smashing Machine, which is the biopic of UFC fighter Mark Kerr, directed by Benny Safdie, the first movie directed by Benny Safdie ever, because they obviously were the Safdie brothers before this. First one on his own. Looked completely different to me. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was completely transformed. Do you know much about the Mark Kerr story?
I mean, only limited because obviously he was like the first era of UFC. I think every major UFC fan will know at least a little bit about his kind of story and his rising and his upbringing. So yeah, it should be really interesting. I'm glad that Dwayne Johnson's picking a role like this. I think it's important he takes strides like this, and I think he realizes that now, which is great. I mean, not a great guy, which we've found out many times, but this should be interesting anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see it for a lot of different reasons. Dwayne Johnson's first serious role, A24 biopic on Mark Kerr coming off of the Iron Claw. Like I'm excited to see another, them tackling something like that. And then Benny Safdie, want to see what he does alone, without his brother.
Will he be a Cohen? Will he be
will it be a Cohen brothers situation? Which one will he be? Will he be the good brother or the bad brother?
Yeah.
Paul Mescal is being eyed to play one of the Beatles in Sam Mendes' 4 upcoming Beatles biopics. I feel like Paul Mescal is in like the position of his career where he's just starting to try and like collect directors, and he's like, Sam Mendes, he's won an Oscar for American Beauty, 1917 as well. Like, I'm getting a Ridley Scott, I'm going to collect a Sam Mendes. Like, I don't know, this just doesn't seem like that interesting of a project, so I don't really know what the appeal is.
I'd be sad if any greater had to put it on, because I just don't think they're going to be very good. I think it's a massive risk. I mean, they could be, don't get me wrong, but it's a weird one. I think it's a really weird one. I wouldn't want to take it if I was him.
Yep. And then Michael Cera is set to make his directorial debut with a family story with a sort of mystery element too, with a somewhat sci-fi thread, is how it was described by him. Ari Aster is producing the film.
Yeah, so
that makes me really excited because that sounds like it's gonna be something twisted. And I love Michael Cera, such a wholesome dude. And like this might be one of those moments where like it's such like a quirky, silly, comedic dude, and then we like see his directorial vision, and it's just like the most terrifying, traumatizing, bizarre shit. We're like. Yeah, and I think it might be that, which I'm really excited for. Like the Ari Aster name excites me.
Ari Aster story. He's like, yes.
Yeah. Should be fun. And then Steve Carell is set to star in a new HBO comedy series. So we talked about HBO looking for another hit. From the person who made Ted Lasso. Series is going to follow an author's complicated relationship with his daughter whilst on a college campus. Steve Carell, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with anything he does. I'll give it a chance. Like I gave Space Force a chance, hated it, but Steve Carell's in it, so I gave it a chance. So I'll give this a chance, but it's Ted Lasso, it'll be wholesome. Steve Carell can pull off wholesome. But yeah, fun little news. And then finally, I was hoping Cam or George would be here for this to see their reaction, but a 10-year-old Peter Parker is reportedly going to appear in Venom: The Last Dance. I imagine it's going to be similar to like in Joker, how we see like the young Bruce Wayne for like 3 seconds and it's just like a throwaway thing, but it'll be interesting to see if they just weave in anything more than that. But Peter Parker will be in Venom: Last Dance. So yeah, that does it for news. That does it for our episode. So on Thursday this week, we're going to be doing ranking or maybe a draft. We'll see what it ends up being, but the topic is going to be our favorite casting choices of all time. So casting decisions for actors and actresses in movies that we really loved. And then this week on Patreon only on Friday, we are going to be reviewing Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula with that incredible cast. It's perfect timing to start ticking off some more Francis Ford Coppola's as we wait for Megalopolis to come out. But that'll be coming for patrons. Shout out to our executive producers as always, Stefan Johnson, Stefan Niebrick, and Sean Morales. Hopefully I memorized those correctly because I didn't have this pulled up yet. Yep, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, Stefan Niebrick. Shout out to all of you for making this happen. Episode 90, we're getting close to 100. That'll be exciting when we get to the triple digits here. But that does it for the episode. We will see you on Thursday with our real quick episode of The Draft. Peace out.